Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to another sci-fi Shadow Chat. George could not join us tonight and run his usual Star Wars West End D6 game, so we decided we would talk about the other games that we're going to be playing in the upcoming new year. Normally, we would do something like this a little closer to the actual new year, but I know this year a lot of people are going to be out and doing things, so I figured we'd talk about it. And Omen here is going to be running Alien, or is it Alien?
It's Alien.
I thought that's what I thought.
Yeah. Well, you said Alien twice, but I think you meant like Aliens. But no, it's no. It was going to be the starter set for Alien. I have it in Foundry. I'm setting up the server. I need to make sure everything's working on it, and then we'll have to at some point try to get you guys to log in to make sure it actually works that way. And then, but I think that'll help out a lot.
Bo, you know where the link is. If you want to join us, you're always welcome around these parts.
And I think it'll be a lot easier in some ways, because the map's already built in there. It's easier to see where things are. It does a lot of the roles, and I don't know about you guys, but sometimes, even when I'm rolling at home, there's sometimes if it's a critical role, it's like, here, let's let everyone see what the role is and see what happens. And I've had more fun when, including failures and massive successes. Like I had a critical failure one time playing Call of Cthulhu, where my character fell from exhaustion and fell asleep, like in the middle of the sewer. Not that he died, but because he fell asleep from sheer exhaustion, he passed out. He didn't die from the music. So it was a weird thing. And, the other guy was going to die from the music, but not me because I had passed out. So,
Hey, what's up, Connell? You also know where the link is,
yeah.
You malcontent.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's that one. I'm actually looking forward to playing the Apes. I know I give you hell.
I was getting a little disheartened because not getting a lot of people seem like they're interested. I had a great game on Friday, almost a TPK. Yes, an NPC died, a PC died, and we almost lost actually two.
To be fair, if we lost probably Vitalia the Blade, we would have probably all died.
Yeah. Well, Bo did, come in pretty handy. His not just his spell, but his pulling the grindhouse card. I think it was. No, the Gonzo card. Was that it?
Yeah, I think we pulled one of the cards. But no. What I mean is, for the whole thing was it's not like my character could fight. I don't think Bo's character can fight.
No.
It was nice to see how the spells work. I really do think the spells need a lot more reworking.
Absolutely. Especially the one Bo cast because it. Okay, Connell.
That's cool.
Because there should be some more stats on the spell monster that he summoned.
But I'm just talking about having it being used for combat. It really feels like the spells are same thing with some of alchemy. Alchemy's not quite as bad, but it feels like it's really being used as a narrative device rather than trying to be using it as a spell. And well, if that's the case,
or kind of more like ritual. I know words, George. You're not feeling well.
Get better. Get better, George. That's all we care about.
Yeah. Don't die.
Yeah, it's just a game.
Yeah, and I've run some games when I felt like crap. I never, I don't know. I think I actually ran one game when I was online when I was sick. But back in the day, if I didn't feel good, it didn't matter. People were coming over anyways.
It's one thing if they're coming over to your house and you're like, okay, fine, because especially I don't know how your friends were, but my friends kind of know make yourself at home, which means I don't really have to focus in on them. It's like if they want food or whatever else, and a lot of times they'll bring food over, and it's like, okay, that's cool. If they're willing to suffer with me, that's great. But yeah, online.
What is an MPN, Bo? I don't know what that is.
Yeah. I think a monster or something. Um,
But
but
yeah, I had a couple questions. Okay, for you there, Omen. Right off the bat, you still there? Okay, that
yeah, I'm
was weird.
still here.
Oh,
That's
my
weird.
screen just went black. I guess because I wasn't touching the keyboard or something. I hate that crap. Just leave it
Yeah,
on. I know what I'm doing. Um,
yeah.
who puts this game out? Not that it
Free
really.
League.
Okay, because I've never played any of their games. I mean, if you said like Evil Hat or something, I'm like, you bastard. Um,
Um, I
but
mean, well, a few things. One is I don't have the. I got the limited edition, which I know you bought it, but man, that is a nice set. It really is for that limited edition that they have. And it's $150, but for the $2, the slip case, and all the other little crap that comes with it, that is a really nice. That's really nice for that. But then, what I didn't get was a PDF. I wish that they had included PDFs with it.
yeah, I thought there was because if there was, I would
Maybe the
send you mine.
Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, they didn't give you one for the Kickstarter either.
I don't think so. And of course, uh, I would have either let it lapse and never use it, or I would send it to somebody. And if Bo wanted to read it, I'd give it to him. I'm also looking forward to the B&B game. Maybe I don't know. I wish I could get into a B&B game. Someone let me like play because I really like a lot about it. It's for a long time. We were talking about Gamma World and Dying Earth, and I'm like, yeah, but none of those really, scratch all the itches that I got. For a like a Thundar game. I know there's some friends of
I know.
ours who really don't like Thundar, but I'm like, right now I'm watching the original Battlestar Galactica, and and I was I'm reading Ursharak, and a lot of the things that I read and watched back then, like specifically 78, 79, well, 77 through like 81. I've got those memory goggles on where it was really really great back in the day, and I'm watching it or reading it now. I'm going, this ain't. This is just not. As
Well,
good as I
but
thought it was, but then I got
wait,
old man goggles on now.
but you have to remember what it's not just old man goggles. You have to remember just how bad and starved we were for decent entertainment at the time. I mean,
Hmm.
looking back on stuff it's it's like, well, they didn't have the budget. They were always about just a series, so they didn't get a really good storyline that much. The ideas were really good, but then they had to tone it down so it'd be happy for kids
Hmm.
and women and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Mind you, like with Ursharak, it's no. And I knew going into it when I was reading it, I was like, this is going to be kind of trite, but it makes for a great book you could read to a kid or a group
yeah,
of kids. Battlestar is still got a bunch of like charm to it and everything that I can still go, okay, this is awesome. I wish I could play this game.
I mean, I how do I want to put this? It's not that I have anything against Traveler. I like Traveler actually for 2300. I just don't like the default setting, which is the Imperium. However,
I never used that. I have never used it in all my years of playing it since '79. I've never liked it or used it. I wanted to make my own up, and I did numerous times. And I started working on a game like almost a year ago. Hey, what's up, Ultra? Hey, you know what? I don't know. Maybe I'll risk throwing in the link out there in a minute if you want to join us. Uh,
you know what? Join his Discord, and then so you can identify if you're not part of his Discord, then you're not getting in. No offense. We've already had some issues previously, but no, I mean,
wow, Rooster. Really?
I, yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I look back on and I say, oh man, because one is I think the audience has matured to the point that they want more stuff. I don't know, talking about, talking a little bit about movies. I know we're getting off some of the games, but I remember watching, Fire and Ice and thinking it was the greatest movie ever just because they actually had blood and gore. Don't get me wrong.
I just watched it last year, and some of it was, like I said before,
yeah.
trite. But some of the animation was so gorgeous.
That
Even
rotoscope.
even to my
Yeah.
old man eyes, that scene where the girl's in the log, some of those
Yep.
angles and close-ups and whatnot was just beautiful. If I could get the stills from that, I would. I might even look them up and see if I can find some of those. Uh,
But just like The Hobbit, as a child, I loved The Hobbit for the movie. But
mhm.
again, network television aimed at kids. You're not allowed to show blood, and
Yeah,
so
like when the
the way.
spiders would do that spinny thing when they got killed. It was like,
Yeah,
oh
but
my
see, I'm
god.
not blaming. People say, "Oh, it's so terrible." You have to look at this. Is sometimes I have to look at. You have
Yeah,
to
the
look at
constraints.
it was, but you have to look at sometimes the times that these things were done and what they were allowed to do at the time, and that's what I always looked at. Um, but no, I agree with you. Is the Flash Gordon stuff? I went back and we watched that. From the 79, 80. The first season, I still think it holds up pretty well for animation. And I agree with you. I have Mutant Claw Classics, and maybe I'd like to run that game at some point too. Either run it or play in it. Um, I have. I don't feel like driving an hour to Austin to play every week, but I could. That sounds so terrible, but um, it's kind of far for me. It's further than I want to drive. But then again, I went, well, is that really so bad? But one of our friends, he ran us through a Dungeon Crawl Classic game. We all died. It was a complete TPK. It was, of course, we were a bit lower for the numbers we should have. Overall, though, my son thought it was a blast. He was happy, and I can see this actually with Bo and stuff like that. Yeah, but you're right. I go back and I look at it as with an adult eyes, and I still enjoy it. That said, is I have to enjoy them for what they are. You
Mhm.
can't go back and say, well, it's this more of
Well,
yeah,
people like you and me and our
yeah,
friends out there in TV land, we're pretty good at being able to kind of recapture parts of what we want when we watch stuff like that, and being able to go, yeah, they had to do this or that. Like with Galactica, there's this scene in the first movie where they're going through this weird area of space, and they keep blowing up these satellites, and they keep showing the same three satellites being blown up, and
yeah.
they didn't even bother to change the angle. I'm
Oh yeah,
like, oh my god, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm just like, oh my god, this is so bad. But all the other stuff, the uniforms, the sets, everything is just freaking amazing for its time. And mind you, uh, you know, uh, they definitely not. They didn't do as good a job as like they did with Star Wars, which they were trying to, ride those coattails.
but
Uh,
Star Wars was a movie. To be fair, it was not
well,
a series.
wasn't I could have swore I saw the original Galactica in the theater.
I don't remember it being in the theater, but I think didn't they do that with Flash? Not Flash Gordon,
Buck Rogers.
Buck Rogers. I thought
I
they
saw
did
that in
something
the
like that.
theaters. Well, I could have swore I saw them both, and I remember to this day this big giant 2-page newspaper spread in the Register, our local newspaper at the time. It was actually a big newspaper, and I saw it. My dad showed it to me. He's like, "You're gonna love this. Looks like crap," and I'm like, "Shut up, Dad." And it was awesome. I mean, it was freaking awesome. Mind you, like I was talking the other day, I had just started reading. Mind you, I was like 10 years old when it came out, I believe, or 12. And I was reading Chariots of the Gods and a bunch of other things like that. So I'm like, oh my God, this is blowing my mind, and
It's still a great premise. Is the whole thing. I mean, no matter how you look at it, it's a great premise of you have a group that is trying to flee to safety while they're being chased. I mean, that's it. Of course, I know that. Of course, they did a lot from the Bible and things like that, which they were doing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. To be fair, you also in a larger. How do I want to say this? You were over in California, so you actually had stuff that they would probably do things like that. Where I lived, it was in the middle of nowhere. If it wasn't a blockbuster, it wasn't coming.
right, right. And
You
and I
know,
know like Bear is going to be running a Galactica game, but he's going to be using the I forget what engine it is. The same engine for the new Galactica game, the same one made by the same people who did Firefly or Serenity. And I
Oh,
looked
okay.
at, and I don't know about you
Is that
guys,
the
but
Fate system? I don't know. I
I
can't
I, I,
remember.
I don't know. I could pull it out. It's right here. I just pulled it up. To this day, I've never read it because I love Firefly. It's one of my favoriteest things in the whole wide world. Uh, Margaret Weiss. I can't read what it's called. Um, whatever engine it uses, but it uses that similar to what the hell is that game where your stats are a die, like a single die.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I can't.
Are you talking about like the Suede system, the Savage Worlds?
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking. Savage World. I don't know about you, but like my stats in real life are not that swingy. You know, like giving me a D12 for my strength. Not that I'm like that kind of strong or anything, but to think one day or one action I could roll a 1 and then I could roll a 12. It's just too swingy. My attributes. I know myself pretty well, and I know what I can and can't do. I'd be fine giving myself a strength of 8 or 9, but giving me a like a D6 or a D8 because I might get lucky. That's not how that works. Same with intellect and other things. We're pretty solid with our the way we do things, the way we are, and our attributes, if you will. You take an IQ test every day for like once a month for a year. You're pretty much gonna you know score the same thing. I mean, unless you're intoxicated, sick, inebriated, injured, you're gonna function at a kind of a baseline level, and I don't like that. Otherwise, I would have tried to get into his game. But I was thinking about it's like what I could run it as a BX or a Traveler or a bunch of other games that I do like. I'm not saying that I really like BX, but I could see doing it. A skill based or even a class based system that could be fun. If you scratch off the serial numbers and things like that. Yeah, George, I'll never read this. I love Firefly and Serenity, but I looked at because how like when you get a game, you can like skim through it, or you're in the shop and you can go, oh, it's using these kind of rules. I probably won't like it. I still bought it anyways, but I'll never run it. Never want to play it. But then again, I think certain things should stay as they are, like Tolkien. I would never want to play a Middle Earth role playing game or Firefly because it's perfect the way it is. Now I may borrow some stuff from it and throw it into a game, like use Traveler or whatever. But I'm not going to just like. There are very very few IPs that I would play like as is. Aliens one of them because uh, there's a. Oh, okay, give me a second, Ultra, and I'll go over that because when I go over there, you'll tell I won't be able to like function properly here on Discord. Um, Alien, I would run that IP or play in that IP. Mutant Chronicles, I love that IP. I'd play in it. John Carter, absolutely another one. But beyond that, there aren't like a whole lot that I could see, using it, like trying to stay in that world. Just it's
Well,
not.
see, I'm of a couple of different opinions on this, which is if I'm buying an IP, I want to use the default world. One is I don't want to have to screw with all of the work and effort that's required to do it. And I will be honest, is I'm kind of picky about what I do for mine. If I don't like if it doesn't make sense to me, that if it feels like it breaks immersion when I read it, I'm like, I'm done. And I'm willing to accept a lot of different things, so it's not just, oh, this is only this one. But yeah, but let's see. I'm trying to find one more book here. Oh, well. Screw it.
I'm trying to figure out how to freaking invite you to do that.
He just needs to go. Well, if it should say accept, if he gets into your link or whatever when he joins the Discord, and then he just has to go to the live link.
Uh-huh.
So that's for him to find the live.
If you go into my Discord, it's at the very top. See if I can just shoot it to him, make it real easy for him for the moment.
I'm trying to find. I don't know where my Coriolis book went. Oddly enough. And I would like to, sometimes for these games, I like the ideas that come with them, but I would like to also try the system as well, and see how the system works. Because
it's weird.
Sometimes
the link.
You know what? That's fine.
Oh, it got moved. That's weird.
Anyway, he'll, like I'd like to see how some space combat goes. Like, I haven't played Alien, but the rules are really simple. It's your attribute plus your skill, and you just need to roll a 6 or above. And if you push it, then you take either stress or damage. So it's like, okay,
there you go, Ultra.
But
I promise you on the show one of these days, and so there you go. There's.
But I mean, well, let's see.
Bo. I don't. There are other gimmicky things I'm not a big fan of. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean that particular IP is so, the world itself is so, kind of anorexic. You could literally make up all kinds of crap and it'd be totally canon.
Well, I don't mind if I have it. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to play an Alien, I want to play the Alien RPG. If I want to do Mutant Crawl, some of these others, I'm okay with it. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're going to do systems, there are better generic systems out there, I think, for myself. We're doing the Play of the Apes, which of course that's actually really good.
Did you get all this stuff? Like the cloth map and the patch and the coin?
You mean these?
Yes. All right. Nice.
Like you said, I wish it'd come with PDFs. That's the one thing I wish that they had come with. And the books are just gorgeous. The black stuff, which I know you've been showing off, but I mean, it's nice for feel.
Welcome to the show, brother.
Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah,
no
so it's a nice,
on one of these days.
Feel. I like the fact it's got texture on the front. So I mean, these are great books if you want to buy a limited edition. And you like Planet of the Apes. If you don't like Planet of the Apes, don't get it.
I'm a little jealous. You got a lower number than me. I don't know how that's fair. I backed the Kickstarter. I should get an early number on the thing, but it's cool.
I know. Let's see. Just so
You know what I did? I just left the cellophane on the box set.
I know. You did, but I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not a collector. I mean, don't get me wrong. I collect a lot of books, but I'm not collecting them to be a collector. I'm collecting to use them. And
I every now and then I go through all my books I have because I have so many now. And I have to buy totes to put them in. And every now and then I just go through being like, do I still want this game? Do I not want this game? Is this a game I want to keep so I can talk about it? Kind of thing. So I go through them every now and then. I'm still trying to get rid of my 2nd edition Pathfinder books because I still have a couple of the original ones.
Here's the problem that I have with it. I get rid of them, or I think about getting rid of them, or in some cases I just kind of lose them because I'm not sure where I put them in there, and I will hunt for hours trying to find it. I said, no, it's just easier for me. I'll tell you one that's.
I'm the same way, Owen. If I lose something, but it's the whole day.
I don't know if any of you have seen this.
Isn't that the one that WotC just put out?
Yes, but here's the interesting part. It has none of their political crap in it. It is. I want to say by the value of it, because I was showing weird World War II gaming and stuff. These are more like table quality books, and they were cheap. I don't know. This is marketing material that they have as a game.
I'm trying to find. Should have had these books up before I even came on the show. I didn't think
That
about
is
it
an
until just now.
interesting place to put your books.
I got a bunch of cabinets up here above my thing.
Yeah.
So I got bigger books in this one. I got some smaller books and like a bunch of different dice in this one.
So which books are you pulling out here?
Well, the first one I got is I got White Star Galaxy Edition by James Spawn, which is a white box space opera, basically.
Okay.
Because for the longest time, I was really wanting to do like a Star Wars game for the longest time, and I did not like any of the actual Star Wars IP RPGs when I ran them through because I come from a Powered by the Apocalypse based background.
Yeah.
And even though I play OSR games, now, I still like the rules light more kind of there to focus depending on the game. But white box games fit the rules light for me, so I have no issues. Like I got no issues with THAC0. THAC0's easy for me to do because the table's right there. People keep forgetting, you have the table right there.
And any character sheet worth its salt has a little line down at the bottom where you could just write it in.
Then I was trying to find.
And people ignore the fact that THAC0 was intended for those 2-line monsters, so the DM did not have to open up the monster manual all the time. That's what THAC0 was for.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And then I was also going to share because my current favorite is Barrows and Borderlands, and this is the Black Label Edition omnibus cover by that was made.
Are you going to join Shadow's game?
I didn't even know he was running a game. I think he's brought it up a couple of times, but I don't think so unless he's got it open depending on time. So
it's either going to be Monday evenings or alternating Thursday evenings. I may run two.
I could probably do I could possibly do a Monday evening one.
That would be great.
It just depends on how late we go though, because I work super early mornings is my thing, so I can't play too late.
Which
I am Central Time.
Okay, so
really?
2 hours.
Yeah. I'm in California.
So what time do you run?
So I'm 2 hours ahead of you then.
So you're going to run it from what, 7 to 11, or you're going to run it from 8 to what's your plan?
No. Monday night it would probably be 5 to whatever.
Okay, so but that's 5 your time. I'm saying 7 for his.
Yeah,
so it'd be 7 until.
Yeah, that would be really pushing it for me because I do my best not to stay up too late on the weeks I work because I literally have to get up at 3:30 to be at my job by 5. So
no, I understand. That's the reason I don't play games on the weekdays. I don't want to, because when I get home, I have to like decompress. And another game I'd like to try is this one right here, which is the Final Fantasy, the Fantasy Flight Genesis system.
Can you move that closer to the camera?
This one?
Yeah. It's also weird because the camera's reversing you, so all the words are backwards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got my copy right there of the board game. I was looking at that one, and I may grab it, but I'm kind of done for the year, the holidays and all that.
Well, here's the thing that, like most stuff is, don't buy something unless you're going to mine it for ideas or you plan on playing. I mean, as many games as I have, I like to try a lot of them. Some of them are so similar it doesn't bother me. Like Hyperborea, Axe, and OSC are all close enough that if you bought a character from one to the other, I would just do pretty much a straight conversion. That's kind of that probably occur with Barrows and Borderlands. It's just a straight conversion over back and forth.
Oh, especially Hyperborea. They're very, very similar. Reading, because I picked up Hyperborea, and our friend DM James, he loves the shit out of it. It's just like his favorite thing in the world now, and I'm like, it's too dark and evil and very little contrast and too up H.P. Lovecraft's ass for me. I really like his work, but
I got my Hyperborea stuff in. And to be fair for this, they're well done modules. And really, I hate saying this, adventures are what make your game more than just the rules. If you're going to really look at it for a feel. But we got the Atlas. I got the 2 other books somewhere here. Oh, and I did get the collector's edition because honestly, I actually most of the time prefer the actual covers over the.
Yeah. I got a really good deal on it. But I read through most of it.
Yeah.
But it's just like I'm just kind of burnt on the whole elder gods thing. There really weren't
Mm.
that many in the original Conan stories. I just read all the original stuff, the Gnome Press books, and there's like two instances where there's uh, like a thing that you could call an elder god. It's more like just a big monster that's so big and
but it's
behemoth,
Clark
but
Ashton Smith, and I don't think we've read him.
I've
I
never
uh,
read it. Go ahead.
I just watched the Conan Barbarian movie for the first time earlier this past week,
Oh,
so I
geez.
had never seen it before until like a couple nights ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Did you
I
like
mean,
it?
I thought it was great. I thought it was interesting because I'm so used to because I've seen Arnold Schwarzenegger act like Kindergarten Cop, Jingle All the Way, Terminator, all those movies where he talks, and then you get Conan the Barbarian where he hardly says a word, and so do most of the other actors don't say a lot of dialogue either. But the story still tells itself so wonderfully, so you're not like losing
Totally true,
yourself with
Jason.
what's going on.
There's an efficiency of words. That's part of it. But I also like a lot of the more I watch, like some of the things, and it has some of my favorite actors, which are like
Yeah.
James Earl Jones and what's
Yeah,
the
that
guy's
was
name?
interesting.
Well, James Earl Jones, especially the part where he's which I don't think it's used often enough, is people forget just how powerful charm or personality can be. And he's like, "Come, my child," and gets you to jump off the cliff, and
Oh yeah,
I just so you know, Hunter, I despise that movie because I love Robert E. Howard's original Conan stories before Lynn Carter and everybody else
yeah,
turned them into their own version of fan fiction. Because so much of what's in the zeitgeist is not actually what Robert E. Howard wrote. It
yeah.
literally is.
It's
yeah,
interesting
Conan became its
because
own thing after the comics. I noticed a lot
yeah, so
of.
yeah, I never read the comics, the books, and because I was raised in a very strong conservative Christian household, we were very much. I was very much restricted growing up on what I watched, so I didn't watch. I remember I was on another friend's stream one time, and I'm like, I had never seen any of the Predator movies. I'd never seen the Highlander movies. I was just listing off all the movies that everyone talks about that I'm familiar with, but I had never seen. So, and ever since I've joined the Barrows Borderlands server, I've seen all these movies now, and I've gotten them on Tubi. Like I watched Kroll, I watched the first Highlander. What else did I watch? The 1980s Excalibur movie. The
Oh yeah,
60s Jason. The 60s Jason and the Argonauts was another one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Let's see what I got.
Yeah,
I
go
got so
find
many
the
on Tubi
Sinbad
right
movies.
now.
the original Clash of the Titans.
I've not seen that one. No,
Oh,
I know there is
no,
an
you need to
original one.
see that one. You
Yeah,
need to see
that's
that
that's a good one. All of the Sinbad, the Ray Harryhausen movies with the
Yeah,
classic claymation, those are great. I got the box set. Doctor Who's in like two of them. Tom Baker, um, and most of the movies you just mentioned, I'm not big fans of. So
Well, I
yeah.
mean, some of it is he also does not like Arnold Schwarzenegger, so you
yeah,
have to
I
understand.
don't like that man.
But
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
trying to
at the
think
end
because one I need to watch I actually have on Tubi that I still need to watch is Hawk the Slayer is one everyone
Yeah.
recommends me. Hawk the Slayer. I'm trying to. I got so many. I actually another fun movie that we actually watched that I want to really own a copy of. It's called Knights of Badassdom, and it was a
Yes,
movie
yep.
that came out in
I watched it.
2014. But what's funny was it came out months before Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition was released, and the entire time we were all saying this is 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is what they're acting out throughout the whole movie.
So
It just
I don't know if you know that one is that movie was put in hiatus for like 3 or 4 years. They refused to release it for years because I'd heard about this long before, and
I never even heard of it. That's weird.
Yeah, Knights of Badass. It basically there's a like a succubus or a demon that comes out, and it's anyway at like a camp.
yeah, it's got a
all
young
present their-
Peter Dinklage in it.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that was done before he ever did Games of Thrones, but they kept it. How some of these movie theater, the movie studios won't release something for years and years. That's what they did with that one because it was. I'd heard about it for years and no one could see it. The other one is. Have you seen Dragon Slayer?
I've not seen Dragon Slayer. No.
I
Definitely gotta be on
actually
your list.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it more now that I'm older. But when I was, what was it, 81, so I was 8 years old. I didn't appreciate it at the time. Actually, I think it's held up pretty well. I've never seen Black Cauldron. I need to see that sometime.
Yeah, I've never seen that one either.
The Disney movie?
Yeah, the Disney.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. That was a classic. I remember because I grew up on Disney, so I remember that was one we owned on VHS because we had VHS at the time. And then I remember when with VHS and DVD when that all started happening. So it's crazy. Just because I was born in '92, and I was like right on the cusp of that era where everything started to change.
Yeah.
So,
well, another one. If we're going to talk about some movies, and then I agree with well, what was the what did he say? Baptism of Fire. I enjoyed Baptism of Fire. Oh no! I'm sorry. I wasn't. Baptism of Fire was Reign of Fire that I enjoyed.
Another one that
had dragons in modern day, and they had destroyed much of the world.
That was the game Baptism of Fire.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm talking about Reign of Fire as far as a movie I enjoyed.
Yeah, another one that I remember because I remember Diversity and Dragons talked about this one. It's The Sword and the Sorcerer was another.
I just watched that
movie.
Yeah,
and then one that I have that's on Tubi right now that I have not watched, but I know it's recommended. That's not what I've seen
that
yet.
was the one we were talking about earlier.
That's
my favorite, and this is what I always want to do when you talk about classic things, is the scene, just not to spoil too much, when they're riding the pterodactyls on their final assault. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that's what I want to see. Heavy
Metal is not a bad one to watch.
Whenever you have your characters on a mammoth or some kind of dinosaur, that has to.
That's pretty badass.
Everyone else does dragons. I said, dragons are nice, but to me, dragons should be one of those things that are sprinkled in there rarely. They should tend to talk to you, not just fight. There's a lot of other things. They're supposed to be highly intelligent. Like, they're just not going to go into a, hey, I'm just going to accept you as a master. And like, now.
Yeah. It's actually interesting. There's a lot of, when I was looking through just Tubi randomly, just seeing what was out there is a lot of old, like 1960s, maybe late 1950s Hercules movies.
Oh, yeah.
That are on Tubi.
And they're all bad. It's like watching the old Godzillas, like not the original Godzilla. We're talking the ones that came out in the 60s.
Final Wars is awesome. Don't you say a bad thing about it. That movie.
Which one?
Awesome. I think he's talking about Black Cauldron. Apparently almost bankrupted Disney.
No. Godzilla Final Wars. I love that movie.
Well, that was
a Disney movie?
No. It was just
we're just saying. We're just saying the Hercules movies are just as bad as the old Godzilla movies. So just accept that and just to have fun with them.
Yeah, I've never. The only Godzilla movie I've ever watched was the what was it? The 1990s one that had the guy from Bueller's Day Off in it.
Matthew Broderick. No. If you actually watch the one from
I thought it was good I was a kid when I watched it for the first time, and that was my only exposure to Godzilla outside of the cartoon series that also played on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Because they had a cartoon series that followed after it.
No, it was 49. I think it was. No, I'm talking about the one that was like in the 50s or something like that. It was the one where they had it was a Japanese film that they kind of dubbed things.
Bless you.
They kind of dubbed some things, and that was actually pretty good. I enjoyed that part, and then it just got sillier and sillier up to the point where they had what was it, King Kong's son, and you see the man in the rubber suit, and there was no hair, and the little Mothra with the three little girls in the seashell.
The fairies. Yeah, I wanted to ask Hunter, do you run a lot of games, or are you more of a player?
I have been trying my best to start running more games again because when I first started, so I started late. I started playing in 2019, right when COVID was fresh, and I got into a game I was familiar with Dungeons and Dragons and all that, but I never really clicked with it for some reason. It just wasn't on my radar. Then I came across a game that's called City of Mist, and it uses the Power by the Apocalypse system, but it's modern day people with extraordinary powers. So you're like a construction worker that can that in your sledgehammer is Mjolnir. So you're basically got all the lightning powers. Or you could be a detective, but you control plant life. That kind of stuff. So you're people with powers, but not everyone knows it. And because that's kind of the thing I've come to realize is I like the science fantasy, and then I don't know what I I call it urban fantasy, where it's like modern day, but it's mixed with fantasy elements, like the Bright movie is.
Yeah.
You know,
I actually like that movie a lot.
That's on my list to see too, because it caught my attention. But
it was Training Day meets Shadowrun is the way the Bright movie went.
Yeah, I'm actually the group that I'm running because I'm running my first ever 5e campaign on another channel. We're running the Curse of Straw module, and I told them once we get done with this, I'm going to start running other games for you guys, so that way you guys aren't doing just 5e anymore, because we're doing 2014 5e currently. We're not doing 2024. But one of the ideas that we're going to run is after that, I'm going to take Cities Without Numbers.
Yep.
And I'm also going to introduce some of the some race options from the white box book I have, and we're going to kind of do a D20 Shadowrun.
Yeah, you may want to look at. I don't know. One of them did like a Shadow Dark version, but I will say as much. A lot of this. This is one of the things I just hate about Shadowrun, and this is where the modules come in. They always cheat you on the. They always shorted you on the money. I'm like, wait a minute, I can make more money working in an office. And that's
the only thing I have that's Shadowrun related is I won a Munchkin Shadowrun board game at a local con I attended.
Well, that's good. Now I haven't played this one, talking about, which I'd like to see in how this works. This was the Monolith Conan. I have played the 2D20 version, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I know that there's some issues with it. And then I was, what was it, Fox RPG? Like you comment on stuff. And he said that
Fox Off, yeah.
Yeah, he did. Well, one is I just saw his, his top 3 stuff, or top 5 this week. But no, it was the he was talking about doing the Mutant Chronicles. Isn't that it? Yeah. Anyway, but
I'm not familiar with Mutant Chronicles.
Well, Shadow loves it, and did you ever get the PDFs? I'll have to get them to you otherwise.
No, I didn't.
Let me know, because I have all the PDFs for Mutant Chronicles. I bought them for like $7 at the time.
I know I invested in a large freely humble bundle, so I got a bunch of their Year Zero engine games.
So which ones?
Well, not the IP ones, but I got Dragonbane, I got Mutant Year Zero, I got Twilight, I got Tales of the Loop.
I've got
I think there was I got the One Ring, which I asked for my parents to get a physical copy for my birthday for Christmas this year.
Hunter, you got a question up on the screen,
which is
fail forward mechanics. It's yes and no depending on the system. So a lot of them do the fail forward kind of thing, but it's it just depends on what's going on with the situation. How
what is that? I've
the
never
GM
heard,
runs the game.
Heard of that. What's the fail forward?
Failing forward is yes, you fail, but the story still keeps moving. You don't just stop dead in your tracks until someone figures out or succeeds on something. And that's kind of the one thing that City of Mist does, was because it's a lot of mystery noir type stuff that mixes in as well. So there's different plot hooks that characters can go towards if they fail at one. There's 3 others they can go to.
Okay.
I have Blades in the Dark. It actually
similar concept, it's similar to PBTA, just with a little bit different mechanical rise.
Yeah. So there's that. Well, Bo, if we ever have time, I can run an old school game, but I'd probably do Axe with it. But that's the huge thick system. But I like it because he does a really good job as far as mechanics. And the players don't even have to know the mechanics. The problem is that people look at it and it's 1,500 pages for the book. Plus you get the other books, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's so hard." Your actual rules are 20 or 30 pages that the characters care about, the players care about, the DM cares about the other 1,200 pages. And as a DM, you don't have to use those rules if you don't want to. That's what I always like. That those are. So that's what I like, the mortality rules, and I know that Anyway, that's probably my favorite of the OSR style games that I have is Axe, because it fills in all of the stuff that I wish the Dungeon Master's Guide had done. As much, and I think the first edition DMG for AD&D is great to read if you want to understand their game design and why they did things. That said, it's a mess in other areas for trying to run it. If you want it, rules is written. Let's be fair on this. And most people, Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you. Finish your thought real quick.
No. Well, I will say this much: most people actually play even AD&D. They kind of play a BX style game with, using advanced Dungeons and Dragons for the stuff they want. But it's more of a hybrid BX, which whether people realize or not, because most people are not using the armor versus armor class. They're not using some of the other stuff.
Weapon speed.
Yeah, it's actually I was.
Hell, half the time they don't even use the morale rules.
Well, and see, that's what I liked about BX. It was 2d6. Roll it, and it tells you when to roll it, and it worked out really well. It's a very elegant system. If you know that it has a morale of 11, that's pretty hard to break. And if it's 12, it never breaks. And if you know that it has a 3, they almost always break. And it's a simple. It's elegant in that way. You don't have to look up as much of the rules. But again, like I said, most people when they actually played a combination. I was re-looking up weapon speed. Weapon speed really doesn't come into effect a lot of times until you do some other stuff. But it's usually if you tie out initiative, then weapon speed takes over. And then if your weapon speed is half of someone else's weapon, then you get 2 attacks. So it can get real nasty if you use it that way. But very rarely do people actually do that. And actually, if you read multiple attacks, you get 1 attack, and then you wait until everyone's done their turn, and then you attack, at the end. But I think that in many ways, BX is it's to get new players in there. It's great. The reason I like Axe is that they have race-specific classes. Like if you're playing a dwarf, you don't play a dwarven fighter. You play a dwarven vault guard, or you play a dwarf this or a dwarf that. If you're playing you don't play an elf thief. You play like an elven knight blade. You play, it's got that flavor to it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. It shouldn't just be the non-humans that have like their own character classes. Humans would have them as well.
Oh no! You do that, but like you don't have a fighter is not. That's a human class. A cleric is a human class. If you're doing a dwarf, you have your own equivalent fighter class. If you're an elf, you have your own equivalent elven class. That's what I'm trying to say. Is they're race specific.
Not just that though, but there should be like a crap ton of them. I mean, especially if you think about like the races like dwarves and elves that tend to live. Dwarves originally, according to the old books, like 400, 500 years.
Yeah.
Sure, they're going to mature slower, etc. But after that, they're going to live a long ass time, in which case they would have like a whole bunch of different professions or classes. Maybe not as many classes, but different versions of the same thing. Over here, a fighter, gets these abilities, but over here they get these abilities, that kind of thing. Instead of it being so almost like arbitrarily forced into a caste system.
Let's see, how many character classes this one have? This one has.
That's the one about just all the dwarfs for Axe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great. He does a really good job for this. But let's see, for dwarven classes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 in the book, and then he gives you rules on how to create your own classes, which is nice. And when I say create your own classes, we're talking about abilities and weapon types and armor types and experience points and everything else. And that's part of the reason I really like Axe is if you're going to do it, even if you're not going to use Axe for other game, if you're not ever going to play Axe, the Judge's Journal is really good for like magic item creation.
I've only got the core second.
Well, you have the first edition. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying these are the second.
Yeah, I've also got the Player's Companion.
Yeah. I mean, I have some of those, but we're talking, the second edition, he cleaned up a lot of stuff. And some things he found were overpowered, and so he removed them. But, yeah, I mean, but it gives you how to create your own spells and everything else. So it gives this is a really good book for just DMs that are playing any type of OSR game. he did a really good job. But no, you're right. I mean, there's a lot more classes in here. He gives you a lot of classes in the stuff. It's not, and you're not limited because as a DM, he gives you the rules on how to create your own classes, which is
What
nice.
about race? What about races?
I'm sorry, what was that again? Sorry.
What about races?
He gives you rules on how to create your own races. Again, because you're talking about a BX system, different races will have different experience points. So there's a
Sure.
You can say penalty for having a certain race, and then you also limit it on your levels. But honestly, is there really that much difference between a 13th and a 14th level? Most players will never get to that high. I mean, because it caps out at 14th level maximum. So most players for groups will somehow get up there. But what I do like is he gives rules on how to make 7th, 8th, to 9th level spells, which are more rituals. So it just feels like the spells actually feel appropriate. It doesn't feel, I hate saying this, a lot of Gygax's stuff at the higher levels, he kind of like, hey, we don't expect you to play this level, so we're going to just throw something out there. And the power levels are from overpowered to like sadly underpowered, like the delayed blast fireball. Like, really? That should be, to me, a 4th level spell, not a 7th level spell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one game that I'm actually going to start running here soon on my Saturday show that I do, and we're going to do it bi-weekly because we just did character creation. It's called Out of the Black Cat, and it's made by a buddy of mine. And this uses the Bloat Games released something called the Hack the RPG, which was their kind of weird. It was like if you took Black Hack and then gave it the target number mechanic instead of the roll under mechanic, basically. And so we spent all character creation, me and 4 players. I walked them through the character creation for this. And they all took like, because there's only like 4 different classes and it does a racist class. So there's we have a human on the ship that's the assistant sanitation supervisor.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We have because again, it calls itself a sci-fi sitcom RPG. So you're thinking along the lines of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Spaceballs. I think Dwarf. It was. I have never seen Red Dwarf. That's another one I need to check out. Is Red Dwarf.
Oh my god! Put that like at the top of the list if you're a sci-fi guy, and number 2 if you're not.
And I keep forgetting the name of that one space movie Tim Allen was in, where he's like, "We need your help."
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest, yes.
If you watch Galaxy Quest, don't also forget about Ice Pirates.
So again, there's the assistant sanitation supervisor, human. Then there's then we have a simulation person who in simulation in class of this game is you died, but were brought back as basically like a hologram.
You're playing Red Dwarf, the role playing game.
Yeah, but see what happened was
that is so. Yeah. Everything you said is like torn without even filing the serial numbers off from Red Dwarf. You got to go catch that as soon as freaking possible. You'll never be the same again.
You know what's funny is now that I actually see pictures of Red Dwarf, I've been getting clips of that in my YouTube shorts, not even realizing that's what it was. But then the last 2 characters, we have a humanoid dung beetle and just a worker robot that they found that was supposed to be a gift for someone, but they never got it. So
that's 3 out of the 4 characters from Red Dwarf.
Let's see. Yeah. Then you've got. Let's see. I've got Coriolis, which is Year Zero engine, and that's
another one I got was Coriolis. Didn't they just release a new version of that?
I have the books right now. I actually like this one better for the setting. The other one feels a little weird for me. I have the Kickstarter for it.
Oh, and because I have to say this, the simulation person, his file's corrupted, and now he thinks he's Edgar Allan Poe.
There's the new Coriolis.
Yeah, that's the new one that I've been hearing about. Yeah, but I have the old one that was part of the Humble Bundle, and there was Symbarium, that Symbarium game. They also have too. Was another one I got.
I love the Symbarium setting. I don't like the rules, but I've never played it. But here's one that it's purchased by Goodman Games, but it's X-Crawl Classic. And it's the how do I want to put this? Again, a movie that Shadow wouldn't like too much. It's basically Running Man with almost like Dungeon Crawl Carl not quite the same. And then there was another one. Was it Smash or something? There was a video game like in the 90s where you were like shooting everything. So it actually, yeah, the assumption is that you were basically in a giant, it's a 1980s spoof, but you can use everything from Dungeon Crawl Dungeon Crawl Classics, Mutant Crawl Classics, and X Crawl Classics, since they're all compatible with each other. You can do that, and you just go into the dungeon and see how far you get. This is how much money you can earn, and you can like leave, and like it includes things, just little things that they describe that you might meet the same monster over and over again, because if the monster is a fan favorite, after you quote kill him, the medics will come out and try rescuing him. So you might when you're outside of the dungeon.
So it's like a game show.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
It's a game show, and then if you go outside of it, like you might have been fighting the troll before, and it's like, and then you like leave, and he's there drinking at the bar, and like, hey, I wish you hadn't hit me that hard in the head. Could you like take it a little easier next time?
Yeah. So I have a PDF of DCC, but I also another game game genre that I have a hard time trying to find games to run for is Weird West, because I've always had this idea we're raising saddles but add magic and aliens to it. That's an idea that I wanted to try, and I tried to do it with Wretched Country one time.
I love Wretched Country. Wretched Country is the best Western game ever.
Yeah.
But
I was trying to get a game going. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You got to go check out Deadlands. Don't necessarily buy the new one. Go get the old one. And if you can, just like look at it online for ideas. Weird West is like my number one favorite genre, as everybody knows. But it is so hard to find a group to play.
I think that
I had.
Okay.
Go ahead. I was gonna say I actually was when I first got into Wretched, I got a group together and we did one session of Wretched Country, and then two of the players fell off the face of the earth. I couldn't get a hold of them again after that first session. So that game ended after like one session. But then I brought that up because I was gonna say they had Weird Frontiers on sale on Try RPG for like $15, and I ended up buying that just to see what it would be like.
You're talking about that's the one that's the DCC, which I think.
Yeah, it's a DCC Weird West. It was made by someone else, but it's a DCC product. Right. But it's basically like it's like Eldritch in Weird West. Yeah.
And you know what? I'm okay if you can do stuff that's ridiculous, as long as the players know what they're getting into. Mm-hmm. I think that as a DM and as a player, as long as I'm not getting, especially as a player, as long as I don't feel that I'm getting a bait and switch, I'm okay with it. But the problem that I have with it is if you tell me we're going to be running one game and then you think it's funny to switch it to another, all right, it's something's click. I like trying new systems.
Well, I mean, the only way that's tolerable is if like you're playing for a while and then like a magical portal opens and then you're at this other genre, let's say, but the GM's gotta like early on give you like a way out, or at least tell you what you got to do to get out.
Or if you can do it at the very end of a campaign, because I think that all campaigns need to wrap up at some point. Mm-hmm. And when I say wrap up, that just means, hey guys, we're going to play a different game, and we may bring the same characters back, but we're going to fast forward it 5 years or something like that. It's like a 24. You've gone through your whole adventure cycle. Guess what? You're going to have downtime. You're going to do all your stuff because you're not going to be adventuring 24 hours a day, all the time. At a certain point, you're just like, okay, we're gonna pick up with your characters in 5 or 10 years. Like, okay, we'll fast, and then in the meantime, we'll play another game and come back to them later. But yeah, Weird Frontiers. That as long as you know that's going to be tongue in cheek and it's going to be ridiculous, that's fine. And sometimes I think that I don't know how Shadow feels, but sometimes I get tired of the how do you want to say, the grim, dark, edgy, gothic, crap. Sometimes I just want like let's go out, have fun, and be ridiculous and go for it. Not everything needs to be the post-apocalyptic world of drudgery.
or a world where you can literally trust no one.
Yeah. Now, I actually did
I
get
can't
into, because you
stand
brought
that.
up,
Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, because you brought up Deadland, I actually did buy. I finally got my hands on a PDF of the Savage Worlds newest edition, because it was one of the things where everyone told me I needed to try it. I just never got around to it, and then they had the Savage September on Drive RPG, and I got rules for like $6.
Okay.
And so,
Nice.
Well,
and if we're talking about, if we're talking about older editions, I know there's like a 20th anniversary edition of like their older version of Deadlands that's out there that
Yeah,
you
don't
keep
get it.
seeing.
I
So,
made the mistake of backing the Kickstarter only to find out they wokeified the Old West.
are you talking about just of them getting rid of the Civil War happening, or other stuff that I didn't know about?
Everything. The whole kit and caboodle. I haven't
Ah,
received it yet. They actually keep sending me an email saying they need to charge me another $9
for tariffs.
or something, and I'm like, yeah, if I give you my credit card information, it would really actually be to get my money back, you know. But I know they won't
yeah,
do that, so I'm gonna send them the $9, and then I'll just put it on eBay as soon as I get it because I don't even want to.
So
When
this
I
is
heard
another
that,
game I would like to try at some
what
point.
is that?
Legend of the Five Rings.
So
Hmm.
this is a samurai style Eastern. Generally, it's got, you do have magic and things like that. So, but it's much more in the style of what Oriental Adventures wanted to be. This is a better phrase. Um,
Yeah, I got a. It was I think it's Bloat Games too. They had like an Eastern Adventures OSR little module that they released, I think, for the exact same reason. So it's got like ninja samurais, all that in it.
You know
I
what,
didn't know
Bo?
there was
I'll
such a
shoot
thing,
you
Bo.
if you ever say GURPS is great. No, I hated GURPS.
I don't think
hated
GURPS is bad. I'm just not a fan of point buying.
It's more than just that. I just
Yeah, because I can get behind point buy, um, especially if there's ways to get more points by taking like disadvantages. You know, so you because the idea that everybody's got to be like equal and nobody can be better than the other guy. I hate that concept because it's
well,
freaking
I don't I don't mind point
socialized
buys.
gaming. No thanks.
I don't mind
If,
point buys. I like them better than rolling for your stats. To be fair,
mhm.
because you know that the characters are going to be quote equally powered. So now if they whine, I'm like, that's your choice. You chose to be weak in this area. But the same point that when it comes down to it is, I it got too much when you do 1 second combats. That combat should not take. I'm sorry. There's a lot of times you're going to have downtime between them. Even watching like I don't know if you guys. Speaking of which, this is a brutal documentary. Have you guys watched Battle of Adrivka? That was on
Not
PBS.
familiar with it.
It's showing them trying to go 2,000 meters to get into a city for the Ukrainians, try and take this one city.
Mm.
And it's like 3 months for them to go 2,000 meters. Oh, it's a brutal documentary. This is, I guess it was 2023. And it's just like, oh God, like even the main guys they're following, like so-and-so dies in 5 months after this. And so-and-so dies in 5 months after this. And it's like, man, that's not the kind of game I want to play, to be fair. Even though I have Twilight 2000, and I actually played Twilight 2000 a few weeks ago at Millennium Con, and that was fine. I've had fun with Twilight 2000. I don't mind the Twilight 2000. I also the Free League. Now that Free League, I don't know if did you get that when you did your for the sales.
Which game again?
The Twilight 2000. You said I think you picked it up.
Yes, that was one of them. That was one of them that came in the Free League Humble Bundle.
The Humble Bundle? I'm saying, but if you get the physical, that's their stuff is that one. It's a heavy box, but it's excellent. Their physical boxes are fantastic for what comes in them for their starter sets. Just
yeah, I asked for a few different Free League products for Christmas for my parents because they usually they'll get me like a book or two depending on the price.
So, just as an example, so this is just the original Alien starter set, and I haven't opened up the newer one. They give you 2 sets of dice.
What's up, Paul?
You get that. They give you cards, which include both initiative cards, personal agenda cards, and weapons and things like that. So that's great to hand out to players for weapons because they don't have to look them up.
My problem with that though is I hardly ever get in-person games going. I'm always online, so having all those cards would just be absolutely unnecessary for me to have.
Yeah,
Well, but
there's some VTTs that will incorporate ways you could pull cards and do things like that. But I
hate VTTs though.
I'm saying the physical copies.
Me too.
I'm just going by physical copies.
Me too.
So
you can see the way I run games. Freaking
if you
chaos.
get their physical copies, they've got counters. This is the one thing. They've got a huge map that's double-sided, and this is a nice thick map. Their starter sets are fantastic. Now, again, if you're not playing in person, I think the VTTs are the way to go. And to be fair, I have the VTT too, so I like the VTT as well.
I don't prep for my games, so the last thing I'm going to do is prep for a VTT.
I have how it's going to start. I have 3 ways how it could end. Everything else in the middle is out of my ass and the roll dice.
I don't even have a way it's going to end.
Yeah.
Well, no. When you say prep, a lot of times for me, prepping just simply means that I am putting in the dungeon. I am putting in the like when I did it for Axe, is I was putting in the I would do a synopsis every week that was in there, so the players could look it up anytime. I usually prep the monsters in the maps, and that still takes about 5 to 10 hours.
Yeah. I'm actually 4 out of the Black Hat game because we rolled up what our ship is, and we have this large spherical ship called the Alabaster Drain, which we have decided because it was on a terrain mission that was carrying the people in the transport, and we decided it went to Mars, and the mission was Operation Musk. And so, but I've been working on I've actually been writing out like maps of like some of the different levels of the ship. This is just a couple that I have so far.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing.
I would have just picked up Expedition to the Barrier Peaks and called it a day.
I'm not familiar with that one. Expedition.
It's a module for AD&D. It's a module where in a D&D world you're asked to go explore the mountains because some weird things are coming out of the mountains, and you find your way into this dungeon, and it ends up being a spaceship.
Yeah, there's a few old school modules that I wanted to run. Because I'll tell you, the very first time I ever ran Barrows of Borderlands on his server, I ran the Tomb of Horrors module and killed at least 6 play characters, and they were all at max level too.
Yeah, but one is people talk about how dangerous it was. I'm like, it's not that dangerous until the very end. There weren't any monsters, and there's not much interaction. To me, it was a terrible module. It's like, it was intended to be a tournament module. I will say as much: this Barrier Peaks that Goodman Games had is pretty good for that. But I bought what was it? We were talking about a Humble Bundle. I think they may still have it. Have you bought their the one with the Pro Fantasy map maker?
No.
So
I don't think I was that interested in that one, if I recall the one you're talking about.
Well, I understand what you're thinking. It's like, well, I don't want to make the maps. Here's the thing: is it comes with hundreds and hundreds of pre-made maps. So a lot of times, if I'm going to be lazy, I'll hit Control F and I'll look through all the different maps they have there. And like, I'm pulling this one and this one.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in my D&D game and a bunch of my games, Owen. I never know where or what the players are going to do until they're already like when we were doing Caliban. You guys were in a dungeon. Okay, now I need maps and stuff like that because they're going to be there for a while. But from like, remember when you guys were going to go destroy those cursed artifacts, and then you didn't for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. You said, "Oh, we'll do that later. We'll do that later." Well, I drew out that whole freaking mountain encounter and had all this. I did all these preps for it, and then it literally took like 3, 4, 5 months before you guys actually did the thing.
Well, some of it is we had one player that liked to blow up everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I
he's
mean,
So
no longer with us.
that's my whole point. And this has to do with any player, guys. If you say you're going to do something, the DM prepares it, then go
Yeah.
through with it. I
Yeah.
mean, otherwise you're just being a dick. And then the other part is, if they're putting up hooks, don't destroy the hooks. Let the because it could be really interesting for a game because, you know, I hate saying this. This is when I was a kid and I saw plenty of people do this. Oh, I'm going to try derailing the adventure, and then you just find out that you're not making it fun for anyone. You're not making it fun for the DM. You're not making it really fun for the other players. It's like, well, it's just easier to kick said person out, and then everyone's happy. I mean,
yeah. I don't have to worry about me derailing the character because the players, their dice rolls end up derailing the adventure half the time. Because the very first session I ran when we did Curse of Strahd, the very first session, I almost killed them with just zombies alone. Because I told them all I wasn't going to hold back on them. This is not going to be your typical mom and dad's typical 5e. This is my 5e, and I'm going to go at you guys because this is Curse of Strahd, this is Ravenloft, this is vampires, this is fear, this is death happening at your door. That's how it should feel.
Well, here's the problem that I have with a lot of the 5e aspect is if you actually look at the Dungeon Master's Guide, which apparently no one reads, anyway, is it has rules for to play a grittier 5e game. And people are like, oh, what? It's like, it's on page like 175. Didn't you read it? Oh, that's in there? Like, the only thing they read is generally the magic items, and that's about it for the Dungeon Master's Guide. They give a lot of optional rules that actually make 5e run pretty well.
We're using the optional sanity attribute in our Curse of Strahd game. But see, how I'm treating it is I'm treating it almost kind of similar like Call of Cthulhu-esque, where they have to do sanity checks every now and then depending on it, but then if they fail that check, they lose a point of sanity.
Oh.
And if they even as they try, like it just keeps going down, down, down. Now there are ways they can get their sanity back. I'm still trying to work on the details of that, so not recovering sanity just every time whenever they do something. But I mean,
if you look at 5e, they like one that like my friend it's kind of fed up with it. I'm like, well, try a different system. He's like, well, my players don't want to try a new system. Like, if you're the only DM running, they'll play whatever you tell them. Anyway, but then the other part is he's going to change the long rest and the short rest. So a short rest is overnight and a long rest is once per week. I said that makes a huge difference in the game. And there's a few other things in there that, like, if you hit 0 hit points, you start getting, permanent wounds and stuff. And my friend and I talked about it. If you hit 0 hit points, you automatically gain a level of exhaustion. Yeah, I mean, there are things to do, but what amazes me is that most players don't want to do it. But what's interesting, and Bo was talking about this earlier, the chance of a TPK actually makes the game more exciting and more fun. Now, it may kind of suck the players say, okay, we're done with this game. Let's try a new one. But that threat of death really does mean something.
Yeah, it absolutely has to. Otherwise, you are just engaged in a storytelling game or experience. I don't know how a storytelling game works per se.
A storytelling game is that which Curse of Strahd is you kind of on rails. It's a railroad.
And no.
I have been doing my best to make sure that's not a railroad. I've been offering different hooks and plot points for them to go follow. Okay, they're still on the main road. What are you trying to say? I'm just saying that I'm not doing that to them.
No, I was talking about the literal storytelling games that say they are a storytelling game on the cover, kind of thing.
Yeah. Where if you take that at face value, technically all TTRPGs are storytelling games by some form or another.
No, I mean the ones that there is no GM and everybody's just taking turns.
Yeah.
I mean, even like, this, which is a storyteller game, which is the Vampire the Masquerade.
I don't like World of Darkness. I hate that system so much.
Even this one still had the chance of death, and really the problem is not so much death. There need to be negative consequences to players. And then the other one, I don't know if you guys have you been watching Chubby Funster?
I've only heard of him.
So
I literally have a tote underneath my desk that's all Shadow Dark stuff, and the majority of that Shadow Dark stuff is his stuff.
No. But have you been reading what he's been saying about the adventure?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. But of course, I follow Toby Futzer. I have the majority of his stuff.
but I mean, but that's my point. Is he's been talking about what's a good adventure and what's not, and really been breaking stuff down. And I think his advice is actually very sound for that. But again, like one of his things is do not have the entire game stop because they didn't make a certain wall. Like
yeah, that's an old one.
Yeah, that kind of ties back to the fail forward thing that the guy asked me, because that's what it says. It's like, it's not just, oh, you failed the roll, now you're stuck here, what do you do now? It's you got, okay, that failed, find another way now, basically. That's what the whole fail forward thing kind of ties into.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is you don't want to have it where it's like, oh, if you don't find this piece of information, then you can't go any further with this game. And like that, either don't have them roll and find the piece of information automatically.
Yeah, you just give it to them.
Or give multiple ways of finding said information. But I much prefer a sandbox style game for that. It's not that I am necessarily against story. Even this one, which is storytelling, it says storytelling.
Yeah.
It's still not as storytelling as people say it is, because if I don't want a GM telling me on where I'm going to end up, I should be wandering around.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Also, I made a video a while ago because the worst thing I'd ever heard about in a game was the concept that the GM already knows how it's going to end. Oh, hell no. I'm not your human die roller, as our good friend Shauna used to say. I'm not there to help you write your story. And if you've already got the last part written, you already know how it's going to end. You don't need me. You don't need us.
It works fine if you're going to be doing a tournament module.
Yeah.
Or like a mystery noir type case, which is what I've known for,
Kinda.
I mean, but that's kind of I know what you're saying, but we're talking like that's 1 or 2 nights and you're done. And then to be fair, and not that I'm trying to knock it, is when we play Chariots of the Gods, I want to see I know what's going to happen at the end. I know what happens at the beginning. I want to see what happens in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, when you guys play the Chariots of the Gods, I don't know what you guys are going to do. To me, this could go crazy all sorts of ways. Yes,
that's the alien game you're running?
What's that? Yeah, the alien game.
Okay.
Because
you're throwing me there for a minute.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the module's called Chariots of the God, and what it is. But
I promise I won't go look it up.
What you guys are going to do? I don't know who's going to make it out alive. I don't know who's going to be, who's going to betray who, or who's going to say I'm going to do this regardless, or if you guys are going to make it off. I mean, it has pre-planned sections in there. This will happen at time X, and this will happen at time Y. But what you do in between those times, I have no clue.
Right, but like an ongoing, proposed campaign. I've seen it where these GMs, script out like everything, plan out everything, build this giant freaking world and story, all leading to, a very specific, let's call it boss battle. I'm like, yeah, that might never happen. I don't do that crap because, at any minute the game can fall apart for just normal reasons. God help you if your players find out that you did that to them. You'll never play with them. They'll never play with you again if they find out you've literally written the end before you even rolled the first die. You know what I mean?
But the to me, that's a railroad a lot of times. And
it's more than a railroad to me. That's a betrayal of the worst kind when it comes to games.
Modules, they do end at some point. They don't just go on forever. There still has to be a way the module comes to an end.
Right, but it's not and mind you, especially back in the day, and we've all learned from this, especially the old TSR modules, sometimes you literally, it might as well be linear. You're just jumping over freaking hurdles to get to the final boss fight, and if not, you die. It's because you died along the way.
Hey, Doc.
I'm going to say this much, though. Again, it's not against everything for it. I'm just going to say you have to know what you're in for the game. Like I played Call of Cthulhu, one is we don't ever know how it's going to end because we don't know how it's going to end. The DM generally knows, but considering that, but I'm like, okay, that's fine. I know what I'm getting in the game. But I agree with you. If it's going to be a long-term campaign, and
you know what I mean is like before we even roll the first die, if he already knows exactly. I mean, there comes a point when you're running the game where you know, well, the guys have sort of painted themselves into this corner, or this is the way they got to go to get themselves out of said situation. That's one thing. But I mean, before you propose the game, hey guys, I got this idea for a game, but you've already written the end. You don't even need us.
Yeah. Again, I don't mind it if you're gonna if I know where the end's going to end as a DM, I want the players to fill everything in between and see where they go in the crazy part. Again, but a lot of times to me it's time dependent. How do I want to put this? If you're going to be playing, like, let's use an Indiana Jones game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to let Indiana Jones mess up with the bombing of Pearl Harbor. But,
I absolutely would, because then the things that you can do to twist how that all history-wise happens would be right up my alley there.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
twisting with the timeline.
But for me, he's not dealing with Pearl Harbor. That's not his area of expertise. I know what's going to happen on certain dates. But where is he going to be? He's going to be South America. He's going to be everywhere where there probably isn't, a lot of stuff. And that's outside of the characters. That's what I'm referring to is outside events the players aren't impacting or they don't have the power to do so. I'm letting you, that's going to happen in the background. But I think that I don't know if you ever looked at the old Dragonlance modules. Those were horrible. Those were
those are. I think those are, from everyone I've ever heard, those are like literally rated the worst of all modules ever written.
I myself am actually a very big Dragonlance fan. I started because I listened to a podcast that read the whole 5e module. I looked into the old stuff from there. Haven't had a chance to read the books yet. That's on the bucket list. I want to do is at least read some of those Dragonlance actual books that were written. But one of the things that also, because kind of going back to think about space games and all that, I really wanted to do like a Spelljammer Dragonlance mix to where it was Dragonlance, but they're traveling throughout the galaxy doing all this stuff instead. And I actually had a title for it. It was going to be called the Starlance Saga, was what this whole campaign was going to be. And it still sits in the back of my head. I haven't had a chance to run it yet, but one day it's going to be a thing.
I'll be honest, I hated Spelljammer when it came out.
The new one or the old one?
The old one.
The original.
Okay. Yeah, I had to ask, so.
No. I said when it originally came out.
I didn't hear it originally.
When I first saw it, I'm like, this looks kind of cool.
Yeah,
it had a lot of promise. There were a bunch of things about it I did not like. The way they redefined outer space with the crystal spheres and all that stupid crap. When you could have just had your magic be powerful enough to provide a bubble around your ship so that you didn't, freeze and die and all that stuff. And that would have been way cooler than what they did. Plus the fact that, like, when you buy the box set and every other ship is modeled after some creature, I'm like, this is
I thought there were some of them, but I mean, I'm going to bring up this one because this is the Axe Barbarian Conquerors of Canu, which is basically their Thundar version, which has space aliens.
What's it called again?
Barbarian Conquerors of Canu, BCK instead of ACK. But what they have in there is they've got like bugmen, they have fishmen, we can play a Buck Rogers style character, they've got robots, they've got laser guys.
That's another one I need to see is Thundar the Barbarian. That's another show I need to watch as well.
Oh yeah. I need to go back and rewatch it because apparently they did not reuse a lot of the their villains, which was kind of cool. But the problem with the Dragonlance modules, yeah, it was relative official modules, yeah. But what really gets me about, the first one was not bad. I did not mind the first module, but by the time you got up to like the sixth module, characters were dying off. It didn't matter what you like. If you played the same character over and over, and then I forgot what his name. One of them was like, "Oh, he dies of a heart attack." It's like he just disappears. Like, do you know how cheated I would feel as a player if I'd been playing the same character for the 5 modules or whatever? Then all of a sudden you're just like, "Oh, he died." Wait a minute.
I commissioned artwork years ago when I first got this idea in play. It was Tiamat, but as a giant mech dragon. So I called her Mechamot. So
yeah.
It's still one of my favorite pieces that I had ever commissioned someone to make.
I will say this much though, and I think this was the problem that Vampire the Masquerade and the Storyteller stuff had, was when the meta plot took over and destroyed your own game. You're playing it such and such, and then they bring out, oh, well, this meta plot. I'm like, you've just ruined my whole campaign in certain cases by throwing in this meta plot. Okay.
Sorry.
Nice.
Well, that's cool.
Sorry, the light's kind of funking off with it, but
I think there's a lot of the, again, I like taking their base setting, but I want the players to really be the most important figures in the game. I'll tell you, one of the worst games I ever played was a Mech Warrior game, and the DM basically had us as side characters in his game. And you're like,
that is one of the 10 commandments you don't break. But
you don't have to be the most. You don't have to be the most important people in the world, but you have to be the most important people in the game. That's the thing that I think sometimes DMs forget about.
With a few exceptions, if you're going to meet the king, he's the freaking king.
No. But the game still needs to focus on your players' characters, not on the king. Is what I'm referring to. You are the most important characters. It's just like whenever you read a novel. It doesn't matter. The president's far more important. No one gives a damn about the president when we're reading something else. Indiana Jones, the president, yes, Roosevelt is more important than Indiana Jones. No one gives a damn about Roosevelt and Indiana Jones. That's what I mean by that.
I'm kind of almost the other ballpark because I am very big on restoring what I call game master agency. Because it's so far, thanks to 5e and all that, it's always supposed to be about, the players' energy. What do the players want to do? Instead of, this is the game master's game. He is running this game for you. Your characters are an active part of his world. So it's not the fact that your characters decide what happens in the world. It's the fact that your characters can dictate how they choose to live in it. Like, I don't think...
You gotta have a happy medium, dude.
Yeah. I mean, going back and forth, my view is, I create the world, I run the stuff going on in the background, but the players are the ones that can influence and change what's going on, and that's what I mean by that. It's not.
Yeah, how far are you willing to let them go is when the problem becomes, because then there's those characters that you have at the table that want to do all sorts of crazy shenanigans with the game to try to break it half the time.
Are they trying to break the game, or are they trying to break the world? Again, there's a difference if they're doing, and I'm bad about this also, but if you're trying to metagame to break the system and the world, that's very different than people who are doing what seems to make logical decisions on what they're doing, and it impacts the rest of the world. But a perfect example was, what was it? So I was mentioning 3.5, and they're like, what I would do to kill this dragon is I would just go over and I would just have a bunch of wizards just cast Disintegrate, and he's automatically going to fail his saving throw out of 2. So we're going to bring in a certain number. I'm like, okay, you're metagaming on how this works rather than letting it, evolve into the point where you have a big battle because you've been leading up to it. That's what I'm trying to say is you guys, if the players are going through with it, then if they want to remain small, then they have very, very small impact on the world. If the players are going to be like Genghis Khan after a while and they raise armies and they go march across, then good for them,
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, yes, they can impact the world, but they're not gods, and that's what a lot of players, modern day players, want today. Is they want to be gods in the game, when that's not how the game is meant to be.
Well,
go ahead.
It depends on how long they've been playing. If they've done the things,
true. You get the immortal books.
Yeah, I in one of my games, Omen's in, they found a map to the Throne of the Gods, like a year ago.
I can barely read that quite.
You probably can't read this at all, but this is the Exalted book. The assumption is that you do start off as demigods.
I have not heard good things about Exalted.
Well, here's the point: is it's very how do I want to put this? Well, I know that Shadow had the issue where they made him create his own character. Like, I was like, no, if you're ever going to do it one shot, you hand pre-gens to people.
Yeah, I've been in a couple. I was in a group a couple years ago. It's been like almost 3 years now, where every couple of weeks we try out a new game, and I would spend like 10, 15 hours making a character to play it for a total after 2 episodes, 3 hours.
See,
don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. If you're going to have me read your book and be in the game, you know, make it easy, so I don't have to spend 15 hours. Because if I do that and then I hate that, I will spend every opportunity I have from that point for the rest of my life to make it known how much I despise that particular game and that particular system and that particular situation.
And see, a lot of it really comes down to what are you playing and what's the expectation. And I think it's ridiculous that anyone would have you create characters, especially for an exalted character. Like you said, it takes 10 or 15 hours. Here's the way I look at it. Players should be able to come in and not really know the rules very well. Wait a minute. Should not really know the rules and should be able to play without having to know all the rules. In fact, they don't really need to know too many rules.
Gonza.
That's one of the things I think that people forget about. Most people don't. The idea that how do I want to say this? When you have to do systems mastery to get to get ahead in the game, that's the problem, I think.
Well, here's a simple, because I hate pre-gens. I've never seen a pre-gen that I was excited about, but a GM can spend an hour or whatever and work with the player and help them roll up a character, or ask them a bunch of questions and then do this stuff and then go, here's your character, as opposed to going, here pick from these X number of pre-gens, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, but see, for me, it's a little bit. I mean, if you're doing this, it's like, look, we're going to spend 4 to 6 hours playing the game. Let's see how we like the game and seeing how it goes. That's the way that I look at it. Again, do I have to have the perfect pre-gen? No, because in most cases, and this is the other part too, if you're doing a one-shot or something like that, give them something where the characters can do something really cool and be badass. Do not start them off at first level. Start them off at like 5th or 7th within reason and give them some cool stuff to do.
Yeah, Paul, I've never seen a pre-gen character in any module or any tournament or anything ever that I went, wow, I'm excited to play this character. Never.
And what are you trying to look for, though? That's the real question.
Yeah, because every time every time I'm wanting to play a game, my mind is in a different location. I have no idea. Maybe it might not be because they created crappy pre-gens. It's where my headspace is at. I may have no desire to run a cleric or a thief or whatever, an engineer or something, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not into it.
Oh, yeah. Well, to me, you should be having about.
Yeah, it's not about winning. It's about playing somebody or a character that strikes my fancy. And that's nobody's fault for the most part, but my own, because I never know what I'm going to be in the mood for.
Yeah. So I remember. So pre-gens are really good for when you're running games mostly at cons. Because when I ran Horde Wars at my local con this past summer, and I printed off the pre-gen characters to get to the players because I'll be honest. Because I remember when I first tried to learn character creation for Horde Wars, it took me a full hour before I finally got it all down. Now I can just do like maybe 10, 15 minutes, new character right out the gate. And so I took pre-gens with me because I'm like, here's some options for you. Test them out. Now I ran one game on Saturday, and then I ran another game on Sunday. The Saturday group picked their characters, and then were just slaughtering goblins left and right. No questions asked, just kill them all, get rid of the goblins, save the town. And then compared to my Sunday group, it was night and day. And I could tell that the Sunday group, they were 5e players because they were like, why are the goblins attacking us? Why are we saving this farmer's family? And it's like, why does my fireball only get 1 use per day? And I'm like, that's the rules of the game. It's not 5e.
Well, I mean, I don't want to put this. I see the perfect characters stink of trying to win. Well, it depends on. I will say this much, which people forget about. What would define winning the game? Because everyone, when I was a kid, always took low charisma as their dump stat. And
I made the very first time
that,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well,
my apologies.
If you actually look, and the more I've been playing a lot of the old school games again, that is your most powerful stat, because that determines, especially at low levels, your hirelings and everything else and what you're getting out of it. And if you're just going in to slaughter goblins, it's a bit different. But if you're starting to roll morale, adding 2 or 3 morale is a huge swing. The effect of that you want to talk to creatures makes a huge difference. And the problem is that most people go in and say, well, I just want to be individually powerful. I'm like, well, that's great. But I hate saying this. If you look at leaders in the world, it's not that they're physically powerful. It's that they have everyone following behind them. And that's that's one of the reasons I liked the, Thulsa Doom and Conan. It was his charisma that mattered a lot more. The fact he was a sorcerer was almost irrelevant. I mean, that's not where his power came from.
I thought it was an evil priest.
It doesn't matter what he is. It's a magic user. But the point being is that it's a, the whole point is that his magic was not what made him strong. It was his ability to mesmerize and inspire and get people to follow him that made him so scary.
I had we're currently testing out a new gaming thing for Barrows of Borderlands. That it's basically how to use chainmail with the system, and I was playing a slime star powered mage, and star powered mage is an Arduin class.
Mm-hmm.
So he had like a piece of a star inside the slime had a piece of star in him, and it gave him all these magical powers. Now he also had black powder guns, because that's a thing in Barrows and Borderlands. And we were walking in the dungeon with some NPC mages we just randomly came across, found this scroll that was apparently evil, and the mages that we were traveling with asked for the scroll. None of us at this moment, though, are trusting these mages. Something is off. So I go up to give them, and then I pull out my pistol and blast the face. Instant KO. Right off the bat. And at that point, we feel like, oh, yeah, these are bad mages. Kill them all. So... But it's like, magic is great, but once you pull that revolver out and cock that hammer back, you're done for.
But see, you're looking at it from one way. What happens if all of a sudden they have the 20 other guys around them? That's what I'm referring to.
That is a fair point. Yeah.
The problem I have all too often is, and my friend talks about this, is, he's trying to create these monsters. We're talking 5e in particular. He's trying to create these monsters so they only have to fight one big boss battle like it's a video game. And, again, do you think the president's that hard to kill? The answer is no. It's the Secret Service that surrounds him that's the real threat for, you trying to go after him. And that's true of just about any of the games is, it's like, well, what are you going to do? And I think that's part of the issue sometimes is that, again, when we were playing, at one point, I think we had 15 or 20 hirelings with us when we go down in the dungeon at first level or second level. And, now, were they all going to be there for combat? The answer is no. Some of them were holding torches. Some of them were just carrying stuff, so they're porters. Others are just laborers because, you know what? The party itself is not going to be digging out the stupid door. They're like, you know what? You guys do that for 3 hours, and we're going to go a little bit further down into the dungeon. And I don't think a lot of DMs or players used it as much as was what was expected. The first edition game, if you actually look at it, kind of expected you to have parties of 1 or 2 hirelings per character.
I've noticed this over the years. Not saying anybody I know in particular or anything like that, or any of us, but I've noticed that a lot of GMs after a certain point really railed against having NPC hirelings, henchmen, and all that stuff. I remember a good period of time, like mostly through the 90s, where they're like, no, you can't find any. I don't want you doing that. Let's not do that. One way or the other, because it made it made their job harder, because they didn't find quick and easy ways, like these things right here, these little things called index cards, make all that kind of work. Yeah, you got to do a little paperwork. Okay.
I mean, if you look at I'm going to use B2
a
as
lot
an
of
example.
GMs got really lazy about running the NPC hirelings and henchmen for you, or even letting you have them, because it then made their job harder, because then they had to make it even more challenging when it's life and adventuring and stuff like that isn't always like that. It's not always a
grind fest.
Not only that, but there should be times, literally, where the player characters outsmart the dungeon before even going in it, because they decided to bring in 100 NPC henchmen or hirelings, and they go first, and then the PCs just mop up the treasure afterwards. That is a legitimate strategy. If you've got the money for it, smart.
Well, I'm going to bring this up, which is
afterwards, but smart.
I'm going to bring this up because a lot of people don't realize this, because we were playing and, we started doing the hirelings. So like we go in like, oh, we got 4 hirelings. Let's do this. We'd buy them better armor and better equipment. And they would go out and, the lethality that they talk about, if you play by rules as written, first edition or BX, goes way down, because your odds of getting hit, if there are 15 of you, goes to about 1 in 15. Or 1 in 3, or 1 in 4. And so, yeah, you have good armor class, which means you get hit probably 25% of the time if you have decent armor class. And then you get 1 in 3, so now you only get like an 8%, and then you have enough. And so the lethality, while it's there, and don't be wrong, we lost a lot of hirelings too. But it's not nearly as lethal as people make it out to be for the player characters. It is lethal for a lot of the hirelings. But that's part of it. It's like, well, you know what? So-and-so makes, 7 silver a day. We'll give them a year or two's worth of salary for dying, which is, well, here's 100 gold to his widow or whatever. It's like, well, you know what? That's still pretty good odds. No, I don't know what you're talking about there, Paul. That's the whole point. You're hiring people to help you clear out the dungeon.
I remember
in White Box and 1E, that was maybe not an entire army, but 20 NPC henchmen or hirelings. Yeah, absolutely. That's what the whole henchman rules and hireling rules were for. Because why wouldn't you do that? You've got the money. There's a town here full of people who want you to clear the dungeon. We'll hire some of them to come in and hold, pikes or spears or short bows or long bows to freaking riddle the monsters that they can, while you're doing it too. Why wouldn't you do that?
And people forget, what is it? First level is considered a veteran. You're generally hiring 0 level characters.
I was going to mention, because we're talking about hirelings, for a short while, I was in a basic classic version of OSE, and we were playing in this guy's homebrewed world. We were exploring hexes, and we all started as level 1 characters. And one of the things that the guy expressed us is, we're traveling out for long periods of time. Take hirelings with you, because you don't know what's out there. And so we would take groups of hirelings, and we would have like a main character, and then we'd have a backup character with us. Because I can recall on multiple hands how the main character we had would get killed during the hex crawl or the dungeon crawl, and then the backup character took that character's place.
Well, that's the whole thing of when you're looking at it. But again, I'm seeing what Paul's saying there is achieve larger goals. Well, when you're at first or second level, clearing the dungeon is the larger goal. Now, once you're up to 10th, or once you're striking up to 5th and above, then you generally are bringing your henchmen. But why in the world is my character going to carry all this gold? Let me go bring a porter with me. Why am I carrying the torch?
Porters, torchbearers, and archers, war dogs. There's all kinds of things you could bring in with you. You don't have to be the fighter who kills every last thing yourself. At some point, you're going to be a lord if you make it that far. In which case, you are the ruler of an army and a town and all that crap. and you kind of need some training and experience to be worthy of that. You've been the adventurer for 8 levels. You get to ninth, and you build a castle, and you have no experience leading men and people into battle and giving those speeches and standing on the front lines with those guys. I would rather be the fighter who's done all the things along the way to maybe even have that half a dozen hirelings that have been with you since day one. They survived. They can also go and tell the other people in the town how cool it was to fight alongside the lord of the manor, or the knight, not knight, but
Well, I
baron
mean,
or duke or whatever, and then have those henchmen who've also come up with you along the way and assign them to key positions, watch commanders and things like that for your fledgling little kingdom. It builds better storytelling and more uh, realistic playthrough of that kind of a
Yeah.
campaign.
well,
There
the other
is
part is you're not sending in your. Sometimes it's like, well, we're going to do a camp. Well, okay, guys, you set up the camp. Take care of the horses. You take care of the wagons. We're going to go in the dungeon. We're
Mhm.
bringing in the ones that are useful, and then we're going to let them stay out here. And I see what he's talking about then.
Sure,
You know,
there might be various, especially with the murder hobo groups, or the people that are evil. Not everybody is a lawful good, fighter or ranger. There are some people who, in a lot of games I've heard about, that will do just that. They'll send in an army to do their dirty work for them. That's another valid way of going about doing it. You don't have to be, the perfect specimen and do everything the right way.
yeah.
That's a hard sell.
I would say this though, there is an incentive to actually keeping taking care of your hirelings if they are traveling out
Oh,
with you, because
absolutely.
if you're just sending
yeah.
them in to be the shield, to be the human meat shields, and you're constantly returning back with bodies, at some point, if you go to that back to that town to try to hire more guys, the other guys are going to be like, no, we want to live, we don't
Yeah,
want to
Well,
die.
well, well, well,
that.
but
So,
I
that's a
did mention
morale
that
thing
earlier.
too. That's
There's a friend of mine who's running a group, and because the players have behaved that way, everywhere they go, they get the door slammed in their face. No one is looking for work, so to speak. Different groups have different play styles, but when it comes to like being just pragmatic and logical and wanting to survive, sending in a bunch of NPCs is the way some people play.
and we're not disagreeing with you on that. Is if people are dying, they're going to say no, or they're going to want more money, or they
There are
want larger
consequences.
shares.
mhm.
The other part is, and this is what people seem to forget about sometimes, is where do you think the whites were so dangerous? A white against a first or second level character is annoying as hell. A white against a 0 level character is bringing back another white.
Mhm.
And those are things that are coming into it. But that's why you want the high charisma. I mean, what is it? First edition, you could have to 17 henchmen, and you had to go look for them. But again, this is why you have them do all of the what I want to say.
Hey,
You
buddy.
have some of the combatants there. Like, I don't expect your men at arms to really go and fight and kill anything. I do expect them to kind of act as meat shields and to act as distractions. The
Or
same thing with
archers. I
archers.
mean,
Yep.
like you were saying with the disintegrate spell, 20
Yep.
wizards cast a disintegrate. Well, okay, I've got 30 archers. Out of those 30, maybe 5 hit, maybe. And if they each one of them has a couple of silver arrows just in case, a white or some other thing like that comes across. Maybe. And Paul, think about the thief who decides to hire a crap ton of henchmen. He's not going to give two shits what happens to him, and he may very well use them to go and do some horrible freaking things. A chaotic
Well,
neutral thief, I've seen him do shit that should have branded him chaotic evil, but then the next day, when they get all that loot, they start handing it out. So
I mean, this is the discussion that we had before, which is, armies went out and they suffered horrendous casualties, but the chance of them making enough money that they could retire, and that's the other thing, you're but no, I'm not saying that you don't. It's just in some cases the real problem is that you can't get more than 3 abreast in a 10 by
Mm-hmm.
you're going through. Then guess what? You have one of your fighters, your main fighter, in the front, and with a couple of henchmen or something there. You have a couple of guys behind him with the spears. Then you have the guys behind them with bows and arrows or crossbows.
Or you have your crossbowmen go prone. The next rank is on their knee, and then behind them you've got longbowmen.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are things that you could look at. The other part is that what about the magic user in the back and things? And it matters more when you have what I want to say. It matters more when you have small player character groups more than when you have larger player character groups, because the other part is you're getting experience based off of how much gold you find on average. But when you put down too many, you're getting almost nothing for clearing dungeons because you're having to spread out so much. So there's that.
Yeah, but don't forget the dungeon itself can be the reward. If you clear a dungeon and you claim it as your new hideout, that should be worth the equivalent in gold as to what it would take to build it from scratch.
And then the other part that you have is the I know Axe actually has a
Hey, what's up, Mini Warmut?
Well, they have an abstracted version in there, which is where you can send your henchmen to go clear out dungeons when you're at the domain level, and then they say basically you do a few rolls and then you see if they cleared it out, and they could you could lose a henchman or 2 in there, so it's
or worse,
Oh yeah.
What if there's a vampire in there or some other undead creating undead, and then now you just fed him?
See, here's the problem when people say when you're tightwad with gold pieces. That's okay sometimes, but players get tired of doing that. I know Shadow and I have talked about it. I don't mind. I know that when we were talking about with Dark Sun in particular.
Yeah, it doesn't cost me anything to hand out Monty Hall piles of gold. That just makes the games that I get to run for me more fun because I can now, justify sending beholders at the party because I think they can handle it.
Well, for me, it's going to be a little bit different, which is I don't like handing out too much, but porters and cartographers and bodyguards are cheap by the time you hit like 3rd level or so. I kind of
in the old DMG, the prices for everybody except upper level mercenaries or men at arms, sages, alchemists, things like that were kind of expensive, but everything else was like silver pieces or gold pieces a week or a month. It was ridiculously cheap when even if all you've got is 100 gold, you can afford a small troop for a week. Hopefully it'll take you a week. You never know.
Well, that's the other thing too, is if it really comes down to it, even if you do a big haul, guess what? Sometimes they're like, hey, I made enough money, I'm not going to adventure with you anymore. And you kind of like, well, that sucks. But also as you get more people out there, because I mean, it's like pirates. Pirates followed people who got money. But at a certain point, they're like, hey, I'm out.
I always wanted to do a bit of farming.
Yeah, well, hey, guess what? I want to be a landed gentry. I have enough to now get married. I'm going to buy a house and I'm done. I'm not going to like risk my life for stuff for that. I just think that usually the players stop at a certain point because the logistics get kind of huge, and then you have other issues too. But then again,
well, don't forget there was also, in order to hire people, you had to, go to the local taverns and pay for, drinks and put up signs and things like that, and maybe send somebody off to the next town to post up, wanted posters or hiring signs and things like that. It's not going to be quick. Always, it's not going to be cheap, and if you're hoping that they survive to someday do some domain play, it's good to have sort of played through these routes so that they know how to do it, and that the local population are familiar with the player characters, as maybe up and coming, potential lords of the lands over there, and kind of do some of the steps along the way, maybe a little early.
What is it? A person can probably, if you're getting a porter, they can probably carry 50 to 75 pounds, and then that's gold. So that's 500 to 750 gold per porter, and boy, you can bog them down pretty quickly. And then the other part is, and we're not talking about true domain play, but this is one of the reasons I kind of wish that I had gotten champion when I was a kid, is when you start getting larger numbers, then you don't worry about, oh, is this bugbear going to kill them off? You're like, this bugbear is going to give them some issues. But now they can fight, 15 or 20 guys can fight off 5 bugbears, but those bugbears might take out a couple of your hirelings. It's like, oh, okay.
But if you happen to get the initiative and those 15 archers go first, holy crap.
And bugbears on average had 14, 15 hit points, which doesn't sound like much, but if you're not playing with really high stats, I mean, that's a round or two. And the other part was with bugbears, they got that advantage to surprise. So your group thinks like, oh, we're badass, we're getting through this, especially if you're traveling outdoors, getting to an area, and they get ambushed by a few bugbears. I mean, you could lose half of your hirelings just in the first round. And I don't think that people look at it that way. It's but yeah, it's part of what goes on there. Of course, did you ever play with a collar? I never played with a collar.
A what?
A collar.
We play with collars often in B&B.
We tried in the early days, but a lot of times, some groups feel that the collar is hogging all the fun.
I mean, when I used to do it, I used to be the mapper, so I always sat next to the DM and say, "Hey, is this what you're telling us?" And then he correct me on my mapping as we were going through. The collar was just to make sure that things was. Go ahead.
I was a mapper for a game one time, and I will never do it again.
I didn't mind mapping, to be honest, because you know what? As the mapper, you actually had more power than most of the others because you got to see, hey, this looks like something's off here. You got to put things down. But you really have to have a DM that knows what they're doing and someone that likes to map. This is one of the reasons I kind of like some.
Yeah, it's weird. In games where like online and things like that. It's weird because if you can show the party the floor, the room, like on a dry erase marker board or VTT or something like that, there's no reason to map, in my opinion. But if you're just doing complete theater of the mind, like the old days, then you better have a mapper and he better be good.
Well, there was the other part too back in the day, which I didn't do so much, but I know that a lot of people had miniatures and they used to do it. I remember a little different, which is I used marbles as characters. So different size marbles were different monsters, different colors, stuff like this. And I literally built the dungeon in the sandbox and I would carve out the rooms as they were moving through the dungeon. And when I say sandbox, we're not talking like a small sandbox. We're talking, it was probably 120 feet by 120 feet. So I was not hurting for room and putting all these rooms out there as they were moving through.
That sounds like a lot of fun as a kid.
Well, as a kid, we used to do all sorts of stuff like that. Yeah, well, I mean, it was a giant playground, to be fair. And they had 60 families. And so they had this big playground right in the middle. And we were, but I would dig into it. And, you only dig about this deep. And you're like, well, there's a room over here. Let me dig this over here. But you're right. With the VTT, this is what I do. Or this is what I will do. I'm not so worried about where you guys are going because, you usually will have blueprints and stuff. But for a dungeon, I would keep on the Fog of War. And if you have a mapper, then guess what? I let you see everything else. And if you're not a mapper, your characters only see what's in that room as they move. And if they get too far, if you're being chased, which way do you go? Good luck. You better remember which way it went. Now, if you have the mapper, I'll let you see the map of the place. You won't see all the monsters and stuff.
Right. Well, when you're drawing it or you're using a VTT,
Yeah.
the players are not going to forget. You can even test them. They remember which way they went and how to get to the exit. Let's say, because that's really what matters.
It
Um,
depends on how complex the dungeon is. To be fair, I agree with. If it's kind of
so
linear, you're different.
but it's like if and if I have to draw, like if like they're going through a dungeon and I've been doing it on a dry erase table,
Yeah.
and to get to the last room, I'm not going to have them walk through every
Oh
room
no,
on the way out.
no, I wouldn't do that either. That's a pain in the butt. What I'm
That's
saying
waste
though
of
is,
my freaking time. I'll just like
yeah,
hand wave it. All right, you made it out with all your treasure because you remembered,
yeah.
and
Well,
that's
if you have a limited time, then that's different. I'm saying if all of a sudden, like your torches start going out, and then so and so gets eaten, and then you're starting to run for your bare life, and then I'm like, okay, move your
then
character.
then you use it as a learning
Yeah.
experience and enjoy every second of that fear and just drink it in and the the anxiety that the players are going through because you've elicited that emotion
Right.
uh, with just words and situations. That's one of the one of the perks, the ultimate highs of being a GM is when you can get the players like freaking out like it's real. That's
I I'm gonna be a little bit different too. Is one of the things I love is when they completely blow up my plans with some great idea. Not by metagaming the system, but coming out with like
oh, absolutely.
like what Armstrong did with his what was it the love potion or whatever, which was hilarious. I'm like, good for you. It's, I that's what I love to see as a player, as a DM. Not
Mhm.
hey, can I slash and hack this to death? I want to see you like do something
Speaking of
unique.
Armstrong, like he did last week, and then it ended up putting half the party in a very, very sucky predicament.
Well, yeah, I mean that's part of it is like, look, let's have discussions and talk. But it's like, and that's the other part too is make sure that the players all know what type of game they want to play. If it's all, if you're going to talk, you're going to encourage morale rolls and reaction rolls, which I think a lot of players don't do, or not a lot of DMs do. If you come up on a group of hobgoblins, usually it's, round one, fight. But sometimes it's like, hi, and they're like, well, we don't want to fight you. You don't want to fight us. Can we talk this out? And you go like your separate ways.
Uh, Many, in some cases, I can see doing that, but in a lot of cases, um, if they've cleared out enough of the dungeon, then that means any wandering monsters that could hear them clearing out the dungeon will have shown up, and there's no more left. You know what I mean?
I,
There's not an endless supply of wandering monsters in most of my dungeons. There's
well,
usually
and
like
the
a
other part
finite
is,
number.
is it adding to the game or not? Because a lot of wandering monsters are like at the lower end of the danger scale.
Mhm.
It's like it's not making it any more fun for me as a DM. It's not making it more fun for the players. I'm like, okay, you've been able to leave the dungeon. You're able to, and then we'll worry about your walk back, and that's about it. Um,
Yeah, it's when
but
they come back to the same dungeon. That's when you get to do stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's like you were going to say something, Hunter.
Oh no,
yeah,
I was agreeing with you.
well,
If
and if you're really going to do that, I
yeah,
will say this much: we talk about preparation. A lot of times, what I'll do is I will do random rolls for everything in there, but then I will try to modify it so it makes sense to me on why there would be like certain monsters in an area or certain.
why are there carrion crawlers in this barracks? Or this
Okay, those kind of questions though drive me nuts though when players ask me that because I was running a month weeks ago and they were trying to figure out like why are we over here and I'm like glory and adventure and it's like no what's our goal over here I'm like you're it's like you don't it's not that deep bro it's crazy because it's like not everything needs like a specific reason like you're in a dungeon there's gonna be monsters in this dungeon.
Well, yeah. But what I mean is that I like it where, like, I like it to kind of make sense for the ecology. Like, there's a carrion crawler, so you know what? If you're speaking to kobolds, I'd say, well, be careful of Fred the carrion crawler. he's been wandering around, so we've been having to like block off doors and stuff, which explains why the players have to like bash down a door to get in, because they're like, we don't want the carrion crawler through here. You know, there are little things you can do to add to the verisimilitude to the game that still allow you to do crazy stuff in there. You know, like, oh well, yeah, there's a carrion crawler over there because we keep feeding him stuff. You know, and they're like, oh, okay. It's one of those things that, like I says, I like doing stuff rolling well beforehand. So when the players go through with it, I already know what they're going to encounter on day 3 or day 4. They don't know when they're going to encounter it on day 3 or day 4, but I've already done all the rolling beforehand, so I'm not slowing down the game. You know, if you're going to do a hex crawl and you say you're going to go over here, okay, fine. I've already rolled that. I don't want to roll in front of all the players beforehand. You know, what random monsters there? Oh, let me figure out the hit points. Like, I can do all that prep work before the game ever starts, and I just pull out a note card and go, okay, it's this. And then, you know what? I'll add something in here. Oh, there's a reason they're carrying this treasure. Oh, there's this, you know, you can add little stories to it. So that's what it comes down to is I want it to feel like it kind of makes sense. Like giant rats don't bother me too much, and guess what? They'll probably run away. That's, but you know, but that's the other part of why don't you talk to when I say NPCs, we're also talking monsters. If the monster has intelligence, it can probably talk if you know how to talk to it. The other part is there's nothing wrong with like capturing monsters and saying, okay, tell me, you know, how many more there are ahead. You know, if I do this, you can also add them as henchmen at some point, depending on what their alignment is. Please, master, don't kill me. I will do whatever you say, and you know, if you will just, you know, if you'll just let little Wart live.
I mean, think about all the back in the day, like every like 5th dungeon was a wizard's lair with goblins and kobolds and hobgoblins and ogres as his minions. You know?
Oh yeah.
He used a tongue spell and a charm spell, charm the leader, and now he's got a freaking small entourage of a whole freaking passel of, you know, assorted, you know, humanoids and monsters to guard his freaking lair. That was the best.
I remember a game of Horde Wars that was a domain play because he does like twice a monthly domain play sessions. And in one session we were focusing on some of the orc tribes because you could play as an orc as a character race. And we were these orc tribes. This orc tribe we were in was having issues with a local group of giants and like a whole village of them. So we tracked them down, went to the village, and just just wiped them all out. Like my orc that I was playing was also a red wizard. He cast a fireball on the hut that the women and children giants were hiding in and just incinerated them.
So it's not a war crime the first time.
Well, you know, this is you know, it depends on how you want to play. But the other part is, well, guess what? Now we can do this. And, you know, while we talk about alignments, I know that this one thing I like about APES, it's like, why are the dungeons full of monsters? And the explanation is because you get a different currency. You get, I don't want to call it, you call it like divine points or whatever, which can be used both for, if you get enough of it and then worship you enough, you can become a demigod. And so you start like, oh, well, that's what I want to do. And the other part is I want to get components. Why do I have a carrion crawler wandering around my dungeon? Because every so often I need carrion crawler parts. You know, so that's, you know, that's
and you whip up in the lab a gelatinous cube to keep the place clean. You know.
Exactly. Well, and if you want to do a good thing is, you know, if you want to make your dungeons kind of make sense, you can have the gelatinous cube kind of go in a circle, but certain doors are closed, so it can't go through those doors. It's like, well, all right, you know.
I do that all the freaking time. I did that to you guys a while back. The dungeon was designed so that the gelatinous cube could keep the perimeter. You know, he was the giant Roomba, and he would just sweep all the debris, and occasionally player characters bump into one.
There was a short I came across where someone said, if you want to give your gelatinous cubes a little more flavor, give them the legendary action to haste.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm not trying to kill off the characters. I want to make it interesting for them, but I'm not saying you can't.
You want to
do that
provide a
stuff.
challenge. You don't just want to always kill them outright.
Yeah, because we can do that without even
I know.
creating anything. It's
As a
just kind of
DM,
lightning bolts, from
as
on
a
high.
DM, you can always kill the players as player characters without with a blink of an eye. You know what? All of a sudden, there's an earthquake and everything falls on your characters. You're dead.
Rocks fall, everyone dies. The end. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and
It's interesting when you think about it. We have this as GMs, we have this sort of unwritten code of honor, because back in the day that was not such a thing. There were the killer DMs, and they were out to kill characters. That they thought it was their job to ruin
Tomb of
people's
Horrors.
characters.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Tomb of Horrors was
I-
not
I-
as deadly as people make it out to be.
Yeah. I'm talking more like the what was the kid's name, Sid from Toy Story. He would grow up to be a killer DM who would just delight in killing player characters with the sole intention of trying to kill them, versus a good GM who is trying to provide a challenge, an entertaining evening's activity that leads to another one and another one and another one, all within a semi-defined, almost tenuous version of what's fair and challenging and right for the occasion, versus just using all of that power to just freaking ruin a group of friends' evening on a regular basis.
So, I mean, the Dragon magazine had examples of that. They were just kind of fun. It's like, you do this, you get a paper cut, roll for limb loss.
Right.
I kind of
that
wish
was
we
one
had
bit-
some more killer DMs, so that way we could keep a lot of these numbskulls that are in the hobby out of it.
No. You don't understand. When we're talking adversarial DMs that wanted to kill your character. So that's it wasn't fun. This is why, and I hate saying this. This is why a lot of us became forever DMs, because we had to deal with that one guy who wanted to do that.
My very first game, I'd never played. I made up a ranger. I was like, oh wow, this sounds like a lot of fun, and we we found some potions of invisibility, and we're like, okay, great, we're going to sneak through the dungeon. And the next room we went into was a room full of, let's say, bugbears. They could have been hobgoblins. It's been 50 years almost. And they quickly downed potions of invisibility and could, because of their imbibing the potions of invisibility, could now see us.
And see, that's what we're talking about. It's like, well, instead of rewarding good gameplay, it was like, well, let's just negate it. At which point, that's when you really start getting a lot of the killer hobos, just because, well, it doesn't matter what we do, we're still going to end up in combat. And you're like, well, if that's so, you're training your players to basically be murder hobos. If you give them other ways, like, to be fair, if Armstrong had not gone after that beholder, we could have just talked to him and hopefully just left, and we would have gotten what we wanted and headed out. And so that's part of it. And the other thing is, once you start getting up at higher levels, are you supposed to be fighting at the same level? That's why when I see a domain place, I kind of would like to do a domain play at some point. It's kind of why I like Axe, is it has the adventurer, which is intended up to about 5th level. It's got the conqueror, which means that you now go out and you start conquering hexes. And so that's generally going to be up until you're like 7th through 9th level. And then once you get to 9th level, then you're starting to do empire building. And if you can do that, then you're going to start sending armies back and forth. And that's kind of what I want for a game.
Talk to a beholder.
Yeah, why wouldn't you talk to a beholder? It literally says in the the monster manual, that if he doesn't think he'll take you, he'll talk to you. It's and then the other thing is they have 18 intelligence. So, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Leroy Jenkins.
I did that with a kobold character in Barrows of Borderlands one time. He provided the distraction and was immediately shot down by 3 rifle shots. Just bam, bam, bam.
Well, and again, this is why it's not as big of a deal. This is why, sometimes, like, if you get people that are trying to disrupt stuff, it's like, and that's fine. If you wanted, like, I came here to roll and kill monsters. Okay, fine. Then we won't talk to any more monsters. But I kind of like, I actually was having more fun of like, let's go see what's going on. And how many times?
I appreciate that.
Um,
I do want to get to some sort of situation where I could either run or, better yet, play in a domain play game. Because I think about how many characters we've rolled up and played over the years, and even the ones that get to, let's say, double digit levels, many of them never get to settle down and do the domain play, have families, and expand their freaking land holdings for whatever reason, other than obviously including the normal reasons. You're now king or lord or duke or whatever, and you own miles and miles of countryside, and people paying you taxes and all that stuff. Uh, a lot of players will opt out of that because they just want to keep going into dungeons and getting stuff, and then what? Keep doing that. Eventually, you're going to die, and all your treasure is going to become the property of some monster that killed you. That's kind of dumb.
well, and then the other part
Well,
is how do I want to say this? I don't mind going into the adventure, but yeah, it's I know when people say, hey, Gygax wants stuff at a certain level. I think he wanted the characters to stop at a certain level, but he still wanted the domain stuff, which meant, guess what? Now you're doing this. Now you're doing that. If you still want to go the dungeon route, now you're sending out your henchmen. You're sending out your children. They're
Mhm.
doing that, and then they come up, and then they form their own thing. And look, if you want to play it, if you don't mind doing like a conqueror level, then I don't have any problems doing that. I'd like to do that myself to run that. But
Yeah,
I,
I mean, I've like I was saying earlier, I've ran so many dungeons where it's the evil wizard and his lair, and you're going there to stop his shenanigans. Well, one of these days, I want to play the evil damn wizard. I want to get there and see what it's like collecting beholder eyes and kobold guts, and making a freaking simulacrum and a homunculus, whatever, and golems and all that crazy shit, and then watch as the dungeon master throws an adventuring party after my freaking, tightly knit freaking murder lair of, war crimey experiments.
well, you know what is, and if I'm going to go through this, if I want my character, which I was looking at it, you can do this. That's why I like looking at Axe. I want my dark elf to be on top of a giant spider that's the size of an arachnarok. For that, with his stuff is this thing's crawling up, and then be surrounded by other ones that are out there, and it's like, this is the cool stuff. Yeah, we may not have a lot of spiders, but I want this, like, or the players face off against this. Guess what? Now you're facing off with your two armies, and you see the giant, spider on one side and the dragon. The reason I'm using the spiders, I kind of like that more than dragons, because to me, dragons are smart enough not to, you're getting them as an ally, not as a mount. But yeah, well, everything depends on what the players.
I know, Paul. I've seen that and done that, but for a change of pace, it would be nice every once in a while. Maybe one in 5 or 10th level campaigns to actually do the domain thing, because you never know, you might actually, like, my longest running game of all time is a 35-year evil campaign where started at first level, and the last time I talked to the guys, you know their characters were really crazy high level, but they had carved out a nice empire of their own. And most of the games for easily like the last 10 years, there was no dungeon crawling or any of that crap. It was negotiations and deals and backstabbing of other empires and nations and things like that. There was something we could literally like do long distance over the phone, because a lot of my
Yeah.
friends were like not internet guys or not computer guys, but they could call me up on the phone and go, hey, can my character do this, and have some people start doing that and stuff like that. And that was a hell of a lot of fun, especially when when people move away and stuff like that. Uh,
I'm going to bring up one other thing too, which is, and this is, you'll watch players start phasing out of combat. Yeah, you're a
mhm,
badass, but you're not nearly as badass as that guy who can lead the army of 400.
mhm.
So all of a sudden, you start taking different proficiencies. You
That up
know,
and coming, 8th level fighter, who's got the eye of the tiger thing going on. Yeah, let him go do the freaking dungeon crawl, and maybe you play one of your NPCs going into the dungeon because your king, he's busy with state meetings and ordering people around and doing crap like that. He's got no time for
Yeah.
that. Or
well, the other point is you can allow years to pass.
mhm,
That's the other part is,
Hmm.
guess what? When you're 50 or 60, okay, so like our age, Shadow, once
mhm,
you're getting over there, you know that you're not as limber as you used to be. But you're going to be like, okay, but I don't need those skills to say I'm a badass in fighting and doing more damage. What I am is I need to have that ability to raise armies and to inspire them and
mhm.
to run the bureaucracy.
statecraft and
Yeah.
negotiations and marrying off children so that you now expand your holdings that way, and making children. I was thinking about it. Your player character gets married, is a fighter. He's got a castle and lands. Okay, now you're rolling to see how many if you can get lucky and have twins and and things like that, so that suddenly well, not suddenly, but 20 game years later, you've got a whole family of first level characters. you know
Or you know what? Now guess what? Now you're going now so and so is going to go out there and yeah. I mean, I that's the way I look at it. Is at that point, and this you don't have to be 14th or 15th level. You can be ninth level,
Nice,
and
Kenny. Nice.
Or
but yeah,
you get the Arduin rule set, and you could just level up for all eternity with the Arduin rule set.
yeah. But I don't like
Yeah,
that.
but
But I don't like that's my whole
well,
point.
up to 100th level,
I
but
agree. I'm just pointing that out. I'm not saying that you're wrong or anything. I'm just pointing that out.
AD&D had unlimited levels, and the problem that I had with it was things got so ridiculous that it trivialized. Like fourth level was supposed to be hero, seventh level was supposed to be superhero, and when all of a sudden, like, well, you know what, you beat 10 seventh level characters, like, yeah, but this is like the fourth adventure we've met this many. I mean, it's like it breaks the this is one of the reasons I like seeing it, like what's the population by level, and then you start seeing it, and when it's like, oh well, this is very narrow, then you like know about how many are there. Well, you know what, we only have one
Yeah.
in 10,000. That means that in most cities there might be 3 that are like of a certain level. You're like, okay, and guess what those guys are? Those are not like that's not some guy you just randomly meet on the street.
yeah, they're usually shop owners or other professions now because they've stopped doing that adventuring thing, and now they're you
They're,
know
they're,
uh,
they're, they're, they're the guild leaders. They are the captains of the guard. It's, yeah, they're not just they're the high priest. Um, that's part of the reason why I like having a limit of a level, because even then, if they're, it allows players to sometimes feel like they're actually, hey, we're getting this close. This is what I need to do. And, what's the expectation? Um, that's part of it. The other thing is, this is one of the reasons I do like hacks for some of the stuff. Well, you know what? How much does it cost to do to create the spell? 250,000 gold. All right. I think we'll go into the dungeon one last time, or we'll conquer this other country so I can get enough to get. And that's a perfect example of, well, why is the wizard leaving? Why is he going out and conquering all these lands? He's like, he's conquering those lands so he can get enough money to get his 7th or 8th level spell now.
Yeah, I got a wizard in Barrows of Borderlands that he's trying to just get more coins so that way he can pay his master to try his current new master to try to teach him some spells like that from a book he came across in a previous dungeon crawl. I know in the classic OSE game that I was in, the dungeon master was very much keeping track of how many people were dying for sure.
Yeah, I have a friend who does that. I find it more fun to keep track of the kills because
I
I don't do resurrect in my game. It's really freaking rare that sort of thing can happen. I'll as Omen will tell you, I'll throw in preventative magics and things like that to keep you from dying. But once you pass that threshold, you really shouldn't be coming back. The gods are just not gonna. If they bring you back, you are theirs. You know
So
what I
I'm
mean?
going to bring up what he said right here, which is we keep track of it. At least in the OSC game I've been playing in, which has been going on for 3 years now.
You guys got
Um,
to excuse me. I'll be right back.
sure. I mean,
You're
I've been
good.
playing that. That's exactly what happens. Is every time the players die, they get put onto like the little list, and so died, and they've had lost like 30 or 40 characters total so far, and I've lost like 3. The other part is, I don't think anyone in that campaign is above 6th level right now.
Yeah, I was just looking up currently. There is a for magic users, there is a reincarnation spell they get once they get up to like being able to cast at 6th level. As far
Right.
as I know, we don't have anyone that has reached for like 6th level magic user spell casting yet.
Well, the other part is,
But it brings them up in a completely new body and form and
right.
randomly.
Yeah.
It's not the original form.
Well, not to cut you off there, Hunter, for
Oh,
understanding,
you're
but
fine.
a lot of us grew up with the first edition player's handbook, and so like for us for reincarnation, like it's there. Raised Dead was 5th level, but you have to be what is it, 7th or 9th level to cast it, which means that you're pretty much the high priest of an area. And it was so expensive to get that most players couldn't afford it. That's the other thing. But I don't mind it if you're going to have death, as long as there's ways to mitigate certain things. One of the perfect examples is like for Axe. If you spend money, then you raise what they call reserve XP. So when you create your new character, it has more. They have a base level of experience. And then if the other players want to throw money in, they can help with a heroic funeral. And then you can get when you roll up your next character, it starts at a certain level too. And that encourages players to waste money if they want higher level characters. It's like, well, you know what? I've got 5,000 gold. I'll put 5,000, get 4,500 of that for my next character if they die. What are you looking at?
I was just looking at some of these higher level spells. He actually has 9th level power word kill in this book.
Yeah.
So I didn't think there were going to be spells like this in here, surprisingly. Then again, let me see. 9th level magic user. To get that, you'd have to get how many experience points in this game?
You're 18th level or something like that.
This one only goes up to 10th level in this.
Okay.
So yeah, you have to get like 100,000 experience points to be able to cast a 9th level spell to be at 9th level.
That's all? That's all?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's what showed me on here. Yeah.
No, I'm not arguing with you. I don't have Barrows in Borderlands. I was just saying that's all. I'm so used to characters getting hundreds of thousands of experience points to get near that. Like I said, I'm more used to Axe, which is more of like the BX derivative. BX went up to 36th level. I'm sorry, BX went up to 14th. I mean, theoretically, they said you could go up to 36, but for Axe, you stop at 14th. But by 11th level, you can start casting the ritual spells, and the spell points go from the equivalent of a 6th level spell would have 60 spell points. But when you go up to like a 7th level spell, they're allowed to have like 1,000 spell points or something like that. It goes up so all of a sudden the spells get like incrementally much more powerful.
Yeah, it gets pretty crazy because I saw there was like some 12th level spell magic users have access to called Genocidal Rage, where you could just basically in a certain area, and all humans in the area just start violently attacking each other.
And I don't mind it. This was one of the things I know with Bo was doing his. We were discussing things of, I don't mind ritual spells. I don't know if Barrows in Borderlands has it, but a lot of BX, the spells were intended to be cast by the magic user during combat. And I went, really, when you're at those, they had a few other spells that are like take forever, but to me those should have counted as rituals, not as spells. It should have said by such and such level you can do this, and that would have made more sense. But yeah, there's like, let me look at one of them, which I wish D&D had it, but let me see what one of the acts
Had what? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. It was.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
We're talking about spell casting now because Barrows of Borderlands has a 9th level spell, Power Word Kill.
Yeah, but this is one thing I'm going to have to mention for Shadows. If you keep upping the hit points and like certain spells just don't mean anything, like Power Word Kill doesn't affect anything, and that gets kind of frustrating. It's like, well, why would I ever take that spell?
Well, because maybe you haven't, but other people have acquired items that actually give them extra points on each die of damage.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is like Power Word Kill, it only kills up to a certain number of hit points, which should be high enough to kill like most dragons and things. But the way that, but when you start increasing their hit points, they don't do that. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So there was the. Where is it? Darn it!
What is that beeping I keep hearing every now and then?
That's my phone, I think. Yeah, I've got two phones, and one of them is I don't know very well, so I don't know how to shut it up.
So like this is a spell for Axe, which I like, which is Fall of the Deep, 7th level, ritual summoning. Basically, it brings Cthulhu out of the deep. It's like AC 12, 200 hit points, and we're talking that in most cases they don't. The damage is way up. So that was one. The other one I like is they have, of course, Resurrection is an 8th level spell, so it's very hard to get those. Miracle would be a 9th, but they have Flying Fortress, which I just love. This is on how to create a flying fortress, in the clouds and stuff. And I went, that's really what I wish that AD&D had done, made the 7th level more of ritual type spells and less into, hey, this is what you use in a dungeon. It's like, but yeah, there are things like they talk about it to research, 50,000 for a 7th level, 1,000. 100,000 for 8th level and 200,000 for 9th level. And then that's the same equivalent for material cost and the same thing for research cost. So it can, basically if you want a 9th level spell, it costs you the equivalent of 600,000 gold pieces. I was like, oh, okay.
With Barrows of Borderlands, as far as I know, there's no ritual casting. It uses to cast a magic spell. You have to roll 2d6, and there's a chart depending on the level of the spell, and then your level to see what you have to hit to either fully cast it, delay cast it, or not at all. And then if you play with the Arduin rules, you can choose to have mana, and so you have to spend mana points to cast spells, and it's the spell level time. It's the spell level, and you spend up to 1.5 times your spell level of mana that you have to spend to cast it. So,
well, I mean, these are, like I said, I wish that, and I don't know, Shadow's doing his stuff with Arduin, and we'll see what happens in a couple years when they put it out. But I like the fact that there are certain spells that are intended to be cast as, hey, these are your combat spells, this is what you memorize, and then these are the spells that you use for rituals, because then your rituals are not limited in power. You're like, oh, well, it does this.
Well, they should still be limited in power to some extent.
Yeah, right.
But you could do more complicated, more complex, and more powerful things because you are channeling the, like Hunter said, the mana of your flunkies into it, crystals and greater spell components, the right time of the year, the right location that allow you to multiply what you would normally get for like a combat spell of 9th level versus a ritual of 9th level. You're putting in orders of magnitude of effort more than just going poof.
Well, no, I agree, but that's my point. Is you're not You're not trying to say, hey, like, I hate saying this, when Bo tries casting a spell and it takes
7 rounds.
That's that. It doesn't make it that much fun. At that
That
point, it's
was
like, well,
one of
okay.
the That was one of the things that I didn't like that much about the Wretched RPG was how the magic was more ritual focused
It was
than how
literally
I was used
Savage
to.
Sword.
So
We're literally he was literally talking about Savage Swords,
Yeah.
which is a red,
Wretched system.
yeah, which
and I'm working
they're
with
still
Miguel
good
to try to.
games.
Yeah, but it shouldn't take. I mean, literally, the combat was almost over uh, when the spell went off, so that there wasn't even all that much for the spell to attack. It would have been so much
Yeah,
more dramatic if it had come across, a little bit sooner. But he has the opportunity to increase his spell level. He just hasn't used his experience points to do so. To get to drop that down significantly, so it doesn't take as long. But yeah, certain things,
And I'm not necessarily against some of that, but if you're going to do it, then allow them to do little minor cantrips and stuff
something,
that
yeah,
that,
'cause
that, that are
it's kind of like
useful.
all or nothing with Savage Swords,
yeah.
And
I would just
it's very
reflavor at
swingy
that
too.
point to where the ritual spells would just be like normal spells and just really cut down maybe the time on some of them depending on the spell.
Well,
Well,
for Savage Swords, there's logical reasons that make perfect sense why in Savage Sword magic is going to take a lot longer because it's that kind of game. If you've
yeah,
not
Seven
read,
Sword is a low fantasy.
based
Yeah,
on Conan, and people weren't just throwing lightning bolts back in the day of Robert E. Howard. It was like it would take all freaking week, and then at the end of the week, you might freaking start raining down a couple of lightning bolts, down on your enemy's castle or something. That never happened, but something like that. It was, one single spell might take you for freaking ever, but when it finally went off, it was, earth shattering.
And there were a lot of other discussions we had, like why it should be taking. There should be abilities to get it more powerful because we're talking about target numbers too. There should be ways of jumping up the target numbers,
Mm-hmm.
which he hasn't included. There's a lot of different things in there that just I didn't feel were fleshed out, and that's what I'm talking about with a lot of the
Yeah,
games. Like,
don't worry. Starting Thursday of next week, I will be uh, adding my submissions to Miguel and Sylvia, and hopefully they'll put them in more than just the errata because I hate that because
as long as we
since
get
it's
it
a
included
digital.
in PDF with the updated rules, I really don't care. But and I don't mind having errata in there because to me errata is like, oh, if you have a physical copy of the book. But um,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, is I don't mind if certain spells take long periods of time, but they need to be equivalently powerful for that. Like, hey, if I'm going to raise an army of the dead, but
Mhm.
like little minor stuff shouldn't be that hard. And then the other part
Mm.
is not that Bo's using it, but this comes back down to if you like using Conan because that was a low magic world, um, is when you start getting him in there, it's like okay, um, you have the mummery and the mesmerizing ability,
Mhm.
um, which is what Conan the RPG does in certain cases. Like okay, you're not
Yeah,
going to be casting.
there was a lot of actual like hypnotism
Yep.
and things like that in Conan, more than actual magic almost.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah,
that was the
because
whole
there's that
point.
that that opening scene at the beginning where it's just Conan, his mom, and then Earl
Yep.
Jones's character as they're just looking at each other, and you think they're not going to fight, and then shink.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, but that's the memorization and hypnotism.
Yeah.
And Conan almost has the same thing where he's at the very end where he takes off his head. He's able to
Hmm.
make his saving throw so he's not charmed. But that's the whole point of a lot of this is that's where the honeyed words, that's where they're like, gag his mouth, the Bene Gesserit, gag her mouth so she can't talk.
Hmm.
Make sure that there's someone that has where they can't hear or they don't see. Um, that I just feel that, and this was the problem I also had for Dungeons and Dragons as well, is you gave them one spell, and to be fair, I think a lot of people forgot is as the magic user, one spell didn't mean as much because you also had the ability to know languages, and then you also would probably the mapper as well. It's not like you were just you had something to do. I think the problem with modern day players in many cases is like, well, I want something to do. It's like you had stuff to do. You were just doing a lot of the paperwork stuff in the background. You weren't necessarily fireball, 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 or what is it? Eldritch blast, Eldritch blast, Eldritch blast, more magic missiles.
Take care, Mini Warbot. I'm actually going to be ending the show in just a few minutes. I have church in the morning. It was good to see you again, or talk to you again. Good luck with painting.
So, well, Hunter, it's good to have you on here, and I know you're a good 20 years younger than us.
Yeah, it's interesting because again, I started with Power of the Apocalypse, started it, just expanded my horizons to other games, and now I'm in this weird dichotomy of just people I interact with now. Mm-hmm. So I'm in this in this very weird gray area of the hobby.
I think take advantage
take advantage because I've seen you around on like Legion of Myth and other places. Take advantage of hanging out with the old guys and take it to heart, where applicable, and use it to make your games better, because people like you are going to be dungeon mastering long after I'm worm food, and hopefully you'll help raise the next generation of gamers that come after you.
I have a 7-year-old son, and I got him his first set of actual tabletop dice that I'm going to start running. I'm probably going to start running this Out of the Black Hat game with him as well, because I bought a fantasy game that was kid friendly, and we were playing that for a little bit. But he was like, I want a jetpack for my character. I'm like, not that kind of game, son. So I'm like, well, I do have this game that's very simple that he could probably learn at his age. He'll probably like that more. So
he's 7. He's plenty older.
7.
I don't understand why people don't give credit to 7-year-olds. I mean, come on. I was playing chess by 5, and it wasn't because I was some savant. Because I taught all my friends that were my age how to play chess. You just have to have someone that wants to learn how to play. And
that's why I don't want to shove them into a nitty gritty RPG and have them just hate it right out the gate.
Well. See, this is where we're talking about having to learn the system. If you're a player, if you don't have to learn the system. People forget about this. You should know the system enough to know how to play your character. But and the magic users require more. But honestly, you don't have to know that much. It's like I attacked the so and so with my sword. Great. Roll a 20-sided die, and you need 15 to hit. Okay, that's it. Hey, you have 3 spells, and note cards. Here, you can pick your 3 spells. I don't. Again, when you're talking about rules, don't get me wrong, there are certain rule games where you really have to, system mastery is rewarded. But I kind of prefer games where system mastery is not critical. That's why I'm trying to do the VTT when we're going to do the Alien. Is I don't want Shadow to have to worry about all the rolls. Guess what? Roll this many dice. It will tell you how many successes you get. And then it gives you click on the option, and it'll tell you what your options are. And then you're not flip through a book. Yeah, go ahead.
I do have my own little few crunchy books to do. One game I do want to master and run at some point is Against the Dark Master, especially now that they got Against the Star Master in the works now. That same company that made that game. Yeah, it's Against the Star Master, so it's their space opera game. Same rule set.
Usually a lot of it is certain games require players to have a lot more system mastery, but some of this stuff, especially with VTTs, man, the players don't hardly have to know anything. Just tell me what your character's doing, press the button, and it will do all this background stuff for you. And that actually allows you to get more immersive. I think, though, when we're talking about 5th edition players, a lot of them are used to, this is a CR level. Now, I'm not saying that dungeons weren't intended to have certain levels that you were faced against, but let's be honest, when you're 1st or 2nd level, a single arrow is pretty easy to kill off characters. It's like thunk, and so then you're that's why all of a sudden it's like, it's like first level was the worst level to get through for anyone that's ever played, just because it took as much experience points to go up to go from first to second level as it does from second to third. Second level, you have a little bit more power, you have a little bit more money, you have more hit points, and then after that, it becomes not quite as lethal in one blow. But the other part is, again, this is why I think, as much as we all talk about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, how much I love that as a kid, the real sellers were BX. BX outsold first and second edition combined, which is a real shocker to people.
Yeah. So the reason I ended up being a forever GM isn't because I didn't like games I played in. It was no one was running the games I wanted to play in. So I figured I'm going to be the one that runs the games for the people to be able to play in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually started playing games for a while. And then it got to a point where I was playing more than GMing, and I was missing being the GM. Mm-hmm. So I finally got around to doing that. And then you bring up BX. And one of the things that I hated the idea of race as class at first. Then I got into OSC, and I love race as class as an option. Because of that.
I like Axe, which addressed all of that. Which is now, guess what? They tell you that they don't want an exact match. Like humans have the basic classes. It's like boom, but then each of the races are supposed to have an equivalent class, but it's different. Hey, guess what? Your thief now can cast spells.
It reflects a different culture as well.
Right.
It's like the perfect example is the Oriental Adventures book. Their straight fighter, the Bushi, right, is not remotely similar to a straight AD&D fighter. It's vastly different, night and day. The Cavalier, the Shogun, or the Paladin, whatever.
The samurai.
The Wujin compared to a wizard, way different. They could do a lot of things that are similar, but there's enough difference to be the magic user, but be a magic user from a different country. And non-humans should be run the same way. They should have their own version of all the same classes, not just a couple. They should have their own thief. They should have their own cleric, magic user, and fighter. But then, because they're so long-lived, they should also have other things.
Well, see, that's what they do in there. It's like, well, guess what? You're not just a fighter. You're an elven blade. Blade.
Yeah, they've got like three. I think 3 or 4. Depending on if you use the companion or not, or even more.
Well, I mean, it gives you the rules to how to. Like I said, for the second edition now, he's coming out with his Before All Others, and that's going to have, I think, a total of 20 classes that are just elf classes.
That's the way it should be, and it shouldn't just be that, because humans as well. Nope. There should be, I mean, if you go by the old books, the fighter, you had the fighter, the ranger, the cavalier, and the paladin. That's still really not enough.
Well,
it should be a whole bunch of other types of fighters. If you're going to do class system, there should be like maybe the archer and the duelist and some of the things you could pull from Dragon Magazine or whatever. The whole world wouldn't be that simple and structured and cast-like. There would be a lot of other things.
This is what I look at. Is it going to be unique enough that it has its own class? And that's what I really look at. Mm-hmm. Is I don't want a fighter just to be, I'm just a fighter that uses a bow. I'm like, well, you can already do that with the fighter. Mm-hmm. What I think of is like, what else do you have? That's why I kind of like their explorer, which is ranger-like, but it's not. It's not. Now again, he doesn't have as many hit points, but the explorer is the one that you always take out if you want to go search hexes. And he has the ability to, he kind of acts more as a, So, but then you've got a barbarian. My whole point is you're right. All the races have it. I'm just saying that your basic classes have an equivalent, but they're not the same for the different races.
Right. Because the old races class, you would get to a point that there would be a finite, it would be a big number, but a finite number of different elves. If you took all the things into account, even if you take into their stats, their weapon proficiencies, and ran it out, you would eventually have a finite number of elves before you would have an identical version of an elf that had already been created. And that shouldn't be the case. They should all be
Yeah.
so drastically unique.
But I'm going to say this much: is BX allowed? It was very accessible and was very. It allowed people to start the game early and just go and run with it, and that was the advantage for BX. I agree with you. As well, there's a reason they call it Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That's if you wanted that much more detailed. But yeah, but you're right. With OSC, they start adding more and more classes, and I kind of like doing it. Am I really missing anything? No, I will say this much. There are a few people that really hated the elf because it took 4,000 experience points to go up a level. And they're like, look, it's not a big deal if you're playing with higher level groups because you get more treasure. But man, that first level for an elf, like I was playing a Gandalf-like character, not an elf, but I was playing a Gandalf-like character. And he had like 2,800. Then I played a cleric, and he went up at 1,500. I was like, "Oh my god, this is like so wonderful!" You can like actually watch the levels go up.
Since we're speaking about clerics, kind of another thought I had is, can we please give the clerics at least one spell to start with? Because unless they have a high strength stat, they are useless, and you're keeping them hidden away in the back so they don't just get killed in the first encounter.
What do you mean? I played it. I played them. I played the clerics. Clerics are the most overpowered class in BX.
Once they get their spells eventually, yes, but at first level, they have no spell. They only have turn undead, and you're never guaranteed to always be able to use that spell if you even encounter any undead.
Wait a minute. They get as much armor as a fighter. They can pick pretty decent weapons.
OSE does restrict them on armor a little bit and on weaponry.
No, they don't. Their armor is what they want. I think the only thing they do get restricted in some weaponry.
Ah, dang, I forgot I moved it. I'm pretty sure it was like leather and mithril were the only two that they couldn't wear, unless I misread it.
They're allowed to get plate.
Hold on, I could be absolutely wrong here. I'm about to double check.
Yeah.
They're also redoing. They're also going to be releasing a new edition of OSE within the next couple of years, where they're removing all the OGL content and they're just basically making the advanced fantasy books the two main books.
Well, they've already stopped that. Well, I have all the books anyway. It's not going to be enough. You can still play the classic stuff, but my whole point is, basically, if you have advanced fantasy, you have classic fantasy in there too. You just have to figure out what to add and what not to. But
yeah, I just have advanced fantasy because I wanted all the extra classes because I love Drow is one of my favorite races to play as, and Drow's in advanced. So
yeah. But see, that was the other thing too. Is when I was a kid, everyone played Drow, and it's because they were so overpowered compared to the other races, which bugged the hell out of me. It was, I mean, I get darkness, and I get this, and I get this, and I can cast all these spells, and I went, yeah.
Okay, and you're right. They can't wear all types of armor. I was incorrect.
Well, what you have to realize is I used to say clerics are crap. They can't do anything. Da 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 da. And then Shadow and I were playing with Mark. Remember that when we did that? And all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, you can use slings? They couldn't use that in AD&D. Oh, you're doing this? And I was like, yeah, clerics are basically, if you have a cleric and a thief, you can do just about everything you need in a dungeon. You don't need fighters. You don't need magic users. You can run a dungeon.
But like I said, sorry. But like I said, though, they have to have at least a high enough stat to be able to do those successfully.
What do you mean? Like, what? You can run a basic stats. You don't have to have high stats.
Well, I mean, yes, that is true. But if you got zeros all across the board, you're not guaranteed to hit every now and then. You're just basically just an average cleric trying his best to survive at that point. I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it at that point. I know. I just think clerics should have at least one spell to start with.
Well, no. Well, I mean,
that's why they were better in AD&D, I guess.
AD&D was the easy mode.
I don't know. That was easy mode.
It was. Really, I mean, I joke about it, but if you actually look at it, BX definitely gave you that much grittier thing. But no, if you really look at clerics, you get they level fairly fast. You go through it. I mean, compared to they did have
the second best attack matrix of the four.
At first level, first level, everyone attacks about the same in BX.
Yeah. Now, with B&B, Barrows of Borderlands, your magic users and your clerics each start with 3 spells at first level. However, there is no, like, once you reach the next level, you gain whatever spell or spell level. You have to learn your spells from either another magic user or another priest.
Or scroll.
But again, you get through first level. First level for a cleric is not too bad. First level for a mage is a pain in the ass.
I guess it was because in an OSC game I played in, I had a dwarf fighter and then a normal human cleric. The dwarf fighter was the main. I brought the cleric as a backup, so the cleric only got part of the experience points compared to what my dwarf was getting. So it took forever for my cleric to level up.
Wait a minute. They should all be getting about the same XP.
The rule was if you had a character as a backup, then they only got the backup character only got like a quarter. If you were still playing as your main character.
Oh, see, that's a whole different thing.
Basically, your backup character was like a sidekick, and the sidekick was not getting as much experience points as your main you were playing as.
Oh, see, I look this way: as if you're going to do it as a henchman.
That's not actually a bad idea rule. Because I like it when my players actually have 2 characters. Some people really hate that. Some people take advantage of it. I think it helps, especially when you can't get enough people to play. And it also gives each player like the opportunity to have their own healer and their own best friend, at least one person they can always count on. One player of ours actually made husband. Actually, 2 players of ours made like husband and wife teams, so that if they ever got to the domain play, they already had their sweetheart waiting kind of thing. So we didn't have to have any of that weird, romantic freaking discussions. It's just like, my 2 characters are getting married and you can't get in the way of it.
I'm just gonna say this much, and I think this is important for whatever game you play. Try to play the game raw first if you're gonna play a new game, to understand how the game is played and then why it exists.
Yeah, don't assume you know better.
Well, but here's the other part: is once you see how it's supposed to be played, then you have free reign to change it because you understand why things are going there. Because as a kid, I did this all the time myself, but I'm just going, my 8-year-old self versus my 52-year-old self. I don't like this rule. And now as I've been playing and I've been looking at game, because I like learning about game design. Doesn't mean I'm going to design my own game, but I like to understand why it exists. Especially, that's why I do like the first edition Dungeon Master's Guide. He specifically says why he's doing certain things. Now, you're free to ignore it if you want, but he's like, why don't you always use poison? And he says, it's a game. I mean, that's part of it. He says, otherwise it makes the game easy. And that's not really the point of a game. There are just certain things in there that are spelled out. And you can say, as long as I understand why decisions are made in the game, I can say, okay, I'll change them as I want to desire. But I think that I've seen too many people where they'll change the game and then say, well, it's broken. You're not even playing the game as it's written. You can't say something's broken if you aren't playing the game.
Yeah.
Well,
back to that.
It's actually that time for me.
Okay.
Packing it in.
It's half an hour later than it's supposed to be there, Shadow.
It's okay. This is Hunter's first time, and I wanted to, hang out with you. And you're always welcome to come back anytime. We do one of these things on Saturday or Thursday night.
Shadow, if you're okay, again, if we're running the Alien game, it's up to 5 players. If Hunter's interested.
Nice.
Are you on Discord at all or no?
I'm on his Discord.
Well, yeah. So do you have an actual server, or were you just talking about your profile, Shadow? Do you have an actual server that you run stuff through?
Yes.
Okay, so you need to just invite me to that, and then I can just hop on in.
I tried to do that, and I couldn't. I'll invite you to that as soon as I shut down here, because I got all kinds of stuff going on and spicy beans and the usual shit.
Yeah, I always love just coming on and just sharing my own thoughts thoughts and opinions. Even people want to say I'm wrong, I'm like, okay, it's still my thoughts and opinions. So
well, at the end of the day, it's your game, and like someone did say up there is, and Chad, if you want to just cancel it, that's fine. I can still talk to Hunter after, but it's your game.
He's inviting you to our Alien RPG next year, early, probably February, to be honest. If you're interested,
it's whenever you guys get, but
done with the Star Wars game. I got no problem with that. I mean, you're running it, so if you want to invite somebody, then what am I going to say? No, do it on your own server, man.
Well, no. To be fair, it's your thing, so
No, I wouldn't have invited. We've talked before, and I wanted to have him on the show. He seems like a decent guy, and I've heard him on other shows, and I knew that we besides the hobby and stuff, we probably think a lot alike. So there's that. But I will see you guys. I will see you, Omen, tomorrow for our AD&D game. Folks out there in TV land, I will see you Monday morning with another Monday morning video. Hunter, great getting to hang out with you.
Good chatting with y'all.
Give the fam a hug for us. Everybody else out there in TV land, have a great weekend. And of course, Merry Christmas.